We're ready to go at the London Stadium. Chris.
Yeah, welcome to East London for what is an enormous game for the visitors in these parts this afternoon. Nottingham Forest, who know simply that a win is what is required if they are to still have a chance of Champions League football this season, and even wins in their final two games today and against Chelsea on the final day next week. That might not yet be enough for Nuno Espirito Santo's side. We are underway. I'll give you the two teams in just a moment. West Ham in their claret and blue shirts, the white shorts, the white socks going from left to right, and Forest, who've got the first throw of the game on this near left-hand side, in front of where Graham Potter, the West Ham manager, is currently stood as he leans over and picks up a bottle of water. They're in their change strip of sky blue, and alongside me, Mark Schwarzer, the former Premier League goalkeeper, on what is, Mark, an enormous game for Nottingham Forest, because it has to be 100% today or nothing.
It does, yes. This is what it all comes down to. They've had a remarkable season up to this point, being in those Champions League positions for such a long period of time. Now they've got an opportunity. Yes, they are away from home. They are against a West Ham side who are buoyed from their recent victory, but they need to make sure they get the job done today.
So Fowles cross into the box. The header, what a stop by Sells. Oh, he's had a brilliant season, Matt Sells, and inside 70 seconds, he just made a flying stop to his left-hand side to deny a bullet header from Thomas Soucek. It's a West Ham corner. It so easily could have been a West Ham goal.
Very much so. I mean, I tell you what, Kufal's ball delivery in the box was exceptional, and you can see there Soucek on the end of it. It looks like it's going in. Matt Sells, massive dive to his left-hand side, top hand, flicks it over the crossbar. That is a brilliant save.
So West Ham corner, West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 0, but this is a very lively start from the Hammers. In by Ward-Prowse, on by Todibo at the near post. Nobody there at the far post to pick it up. Sofal's gone cantering over towards the corner flag to retrieve it. Here's Creswell, one touch in with his left foot, off the head of Milinkovic in that Nottingham Forest penalty area for the visitors, who are dealing with a bit of a West Ham storm in the first 2 minutes, and they've still not got their foot on the ball yet. Yeah,
there's been, three deliveries in the box. Twice West Ham players have had free headers. Todibo at the near post, he just sticks his, sort of like glances it, really needs to throw himself at that ball. If he does, it's a goal. From inside the 6-yard box, he just half-heartedly sticks his head out towards it. There's not a Nottingham Forest player that has any thought of trying to close that ball down, and they've just been very fortunate, Forest, to get away with that.
So finally the teams, West Ham unchanged from their win at Manchester United last week, the first time in 9 games that West Ham have won a Premier League game, so that really felt like it was a big one for Graham Potter. So Areola in goal, Todibo, Kilman and Creswell, the 3 centre-halves. Aaron Creswell playing his final home game for West Ham today after his 11 years of service. Sofal's in the side as well, he's leaving in the summer. He's the right wing-back, Wan-Bissaka the left wing-back, then Rodriguez and Ward-Prowse, who of course was on loan with Nottingham Forest at the start of the season, and then Soucek behind Kudus and Bowen. And I'll give you the Forest team in just a moment, but they've won a throw on the far right-hand side. The headline team news for Nottingham Forest is that Murillo is fit, having missed the draw against Leicester last week with a hamstring problem, the Forest centre-half, so he is able to take his place. He is the one change. Morato drops to the bench, and referee Sam Barrett is just having to readjust the technology on the arm of his assistant, Akil Housen, on the far side. I think everything is sorted now, so Forest are going to be able to take this throw, which is 5 yards in from the touchline, from the corner flag, I should say, over on that far right-hand side. And Ola Aina is going to launch one into the box, headed away by Ward-Prowse for West Ham. As far as Murillo, halfway inside West Ham's half, back out to the right for Aina. Aina's ball in, it was missed by a couple of players as it came across the edge of West Ham's penalty area. Here's Nico Williams delivering from the left-hand side for Forest. It's come all the way to the back post where Alanga collects it, took a couple of touches to bring it down. Aina's swinging cross in is blocked, and it's out of play for a Forest throw. And now, Mark, they have settled down.
Yeah, they have settled. They have a couple of half chances there. You can see there Elliot Anderson making a run into the box. He tries to get on the end of it, just completely miskicks it, and it's almost like an air swipe at the ball as it goes through. And otherwise, West Ham have just managed to get their head onto every sort of delivery into that box.
Another long throw from Aina from the right-hand side. It's dropped to Gibbs-White, and that's a brilliant stop by Areola. How's he reacted to that, the West Ham goalkeeper? It came at him from about 5 yards. Williams lifted it back in again. well, goodness me, the ball eventually in the grasp of the West Ham goalkeeper. But it feels like you're the perfect man to have next to me, Mark, for these first 5 minutes, because that is 2 world-class saves at either end.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's a second long throw from Nottingham Forest in this game where West Ham have struggled with it, and Morgan Gibbs White falls to him, he chests it on the volley, he just smashes it, he goes for power, and it's just that little bit too close to the goalkeeper Areola there, and it actually more so hits him.
Here's Gibbs White again for Forest, a shot from the edge of the box which is driven down. This is an unbelievably frantic opening. Elliot Anderson tries something sneaky outside of his right boot, trying to catch Areola out at his near post, and Areola claims. So the Forest team, Sells in goal, Aina Milenkovic, Murillo and Williams, Sangare and Anderson, Alanga, Gibbs-White, Dominguez and Wood. West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Half-time in the Women's FA Cup final at Wembley. Maz Faruqi.
The penalty from Sandy Baltimore in the 45th minute. The difference between these sides at the break, and Chelsea on course for the domestic treble. Chelsea 1, Manchester United 0 at half-time in the Women's FA Cup final.
Cheers, Maz. Thank you very much. You can hear live commentary of that game on one of our news stations, 5 Live Sports Extra 3, which is available on BBC Sounds. Just go to stations and schedules on your BBC Sounds app and spin through, and you'll find it at the top of the dial. It's really easy to use, and there's so much sport on there to listen to now with the addition of Sports Extra 2 and 3. Here come West Ham, 0-0. Bowen, edge of the penalty area, on his left foot, repelled, back with Sofal, near post shot, pushed away by Sells, behind for a West Ham corner. This is ding-dong, 0-0, 6.5 minutes plays.
Yeah, it's certainly an open game of football, isn't it? End-to-end stuff. We've had a couple of times where West Ham have dominated the opening minutes, chances on goal, Sells has excelled, and then the other end, you see again, they've had opportunities, sort of half chances. Morgan Gibbs White then with the best one for it, a really good save from Alphonso Areola, and now Sells backs it up with a pretty decent save at his near post.
So in front of the Forest supporters, a West Ham corner, which Ward-Prowse has placed down on the edge of the quadrant and towards that near post again. The clearance is as far as Creswell, who has been urged to shoot by the West Ham United supporters. Of course he is. I think it's been about 3 and a bit years since he last scored a Premier League goal. Aaron Creswell, be appropriate to get one today. Jared Bowen skipping away from one Forest player inside the box, then ran into Chris Wood, and he took it off his toes, and Forest try and break. The threaded pass for Alanga is intercepted. West Ham regain it. West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 0.
Yeah, it was almost a really good ball there from Morgan Gibbs White there. Alanga was looking to run in behind. Instead, he just finds the West Ham defender in the path, but Alanga was through. Otherwise, would have been one-on-one with the goalkeeper.
Sun is threatening to make an appearance again above London Stadium. It was out at kick-off, and the skies at the moment are a touch grey overhead as Sofal is making progress down this right wing for West Ham. He's up inside Forest's final third. It's taken off him by Sangare, and then Nico Williams, who had the ball at his feet, was caught late by Sofal. That's been spotted by Sam Barrett, the referee. So it's going to be a Nottingham Forest free kick earlier today. Final game at Goodison Park. You'd have heard the scenes on 5 Live. Everton beating Southampton by 2-0 to sign off brilliantly at their home on Merseyside. We've got Arsenal and Newcastle to come. Full live commentary from 4:30 in a massive game for Champions League football at the Emirates. And between that, we will also keep you updated with Brentford against Fulham and Leicester Ipswich this afternoon in the Premier League. Both of those are 3 o'clock kickoffs today. West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 0 here as Elliot Anderson for Forest chips on up towards Alanga, laid off for Wood, fierce effort, punched away to his left-hand side by Areola, who wasn't quite at full stretch, Mark, but it still was another sharp stop.
Yeah, it was more about the pace of the ball, wasn't it? I mean, Chris Wood just went for it. He actually put his laces right through the boot of the ball, or the boot through the ball, and it actually flew towards the goal, and Areola just does enough, gets his hands behind it and parries it away to safety.
There's Nico Williams for Forest from the left-back area. Curling ball over the top. Chris Wood, I think, a little disappointed with himself that he didn't bring that down there, because it looked like a good ball from Williams.
I thought it was a good ball, yeah. I think it was just a slight hesitation from Chris Wood. I don't think he thought the ball was going to go quite as far over the top and behind him. In the end, it was kind of just got caught, slow, it's like a bit sluggish.
The Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix as well at Imola today, and that's live on 5 Live Sports Extra for you this afternoon. This is Jean-Claire Todibo, who West Ham will be purchasing permanently in the summer. He's on loan from Nice, but they've exercised that option already. Out to the far left-hand side for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who was presented with Hammer of the Year on the pitch pre-match, but West Ham have lost it. Alanga's in the West Ham box. It's teed off for Wood, who's just outside the penalty area. Back in there for Alanga again, who's gone tumbling. There was a couple of West Ham players around him, and he looks towards referee Sam Barrett asking for a penalty. That's not been given, but what has in the aftermath of that is a West Ham foul that's been spotted.
Yeah, it looked like from here we're basically, no, I don't think, we're just watching the replay, that's not a penalty at all. Alanga just lets himself fall to the ground. There is the slightest of contacts, but nothing that warrants a penalty.
Well, not everything has gone Nottingham Forest way. Oh dear, Ariola's given it away! And Gibbs White has got the simple task of lashing it into the back of the unguarded net. That's an awful error from West Ham's goalkeeper. He passed the ball straight to Morgan Gibbs White, and what you cannot do is give one of the Premier League Player of the Year nominees an opportunity as simple as that. He lifts up a shirt, it's got Awani's name and number on the back of it, after what's been a really difficult week for Nottingham Forest, with one of their big players in hospital having undergone surgery. He kisses the shirt, and Forest in touch with Champions League football still. West Ham 0, Forest 1, Morgan Gibbs White. Yeah,
Morgan Gibbs White was the quickest to react. Alphonse Areola looks to try and play a short ball out at the back. West Ham are in total control. It's just a poor decision, poor weighted pass, and Morgan Gibbs White just pounced on it and then found himself with an open goal to aim for, and he calmly slots it home.
And Alphonse Areola has undone all his good early work here, the West Ham keeper.
Yeah, it's a hard one to swallow, that one, because West Ham clearly want to play out at the back. There were players on. Instead, Areola just does not get the weight of the pass right. And also, I have to say, I think slightly they overplayed it in that situation. Forest were nice and high. They were waiting for that pass. They were waiting for an opportunity to put the press on. And they had to do it. It was very simple for Morgan Gibbs White to get on the end of it and then just tap it into the back of the net.
Scored last week against Leicester City, Morgan Gibbs White. That is his 7th Premier League goal of this season, and all the noise at the moment is coming from that sizable bank of Nottingham Forest supporters over towards our right hand side. I can see a couple of inflated beach balls being chucked around in the away end, as is per the norm for your final away game of the season.
Well, certainly when you're obviously contesting for those European places, and of course Nottingham Forest with a 1-0 lead at the moment, putting themselves in a position where they are still very much in the mix for a Champions League finish this season.
So West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 1, and if things stay as they are, Forest are going to be going on to 65 points, level with Manchester City, who are immediately above them in 6th, but City still have 2 games to play, because obviously they were involved in the FA Cup final yesterday. They've got Bournemouth on Tuesday and then Fulham away on the final day, Manchester City. But they will be a point, Forest, behind Villa in 5th, Chelsea in 4th, Newcastle in 3rd as it stands. But of course they're off to Arsenal later, who are in 2nd currently on 68 points. Very, very tight, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, that's what we like to see, don't we, as the neutrals, sitting there and watching as the games unfold. Who has possibilities of finishing European places? I mean, we know that the relegation fight is done with, has been for a while.
Gibbs White trying to burst away from Todibo, little back heel to release it to this left-hand side for Alanga, because his chances of moving into the box with the ball were running out. Now Elliot Anderson, Nico Williams back out to the left-hand side for Anthony Alanga, who is another who's having an amazing season for Nottingham Forest, the former Manchester United man. This is Elliot Anderson swinging one in. Gibbs White was trying to fall backwards and make contact with the ball with his head, because it was an awkward one for him to reach, and West Ham clear as far as the halfway line, but Forest come again. Here's Elliot Anderson, 5 yards outside the box. Alanga, Williams on the overlap. Williams with the pullback is picked up by Anderson, and I think Anderson and Williams ended up getting in each other's way, and it's trickled over the goal line for a goal kick.
Yeah, they kind of got in each other's way there. Nico Williams, he's the one that plays the ball across inside the 18-yard box. Elliot Anderson takes a big touch, and as he takes that big touch, Nico Williams looks like he wants to get involved and try and play the ball again, but he would have been coming from an offside position. In the end, Elliot Anderson just runs out of room.
Match of the day 2 tonight, by the way, if you want to see that Morgan Gibbs White goal, 10:30 on BBC One with Mark Chapman. Martin Keown and Danny Murphy are with him in the studio. And Forest, having scored that goal through Morgan Gibbs White, we've now played 15 minutes, Gibbs White's goal arrived after 11. They look like they've got an iron-like grip of this game at the moment.
I mean, I think it's still quite an open game. I mean, Nottingham Forest obviously have taken initiative. They've taken their chance. There have been chances at both ends. We've seen that. We've spoken about that already. This game is still very much open, but Forest are in the driving seat at the moment.
Just looking around London Stadium, Mark, I mean, not in the Nottingham Forest away end, because that is absolutely ram-packed, but there are quite a lot of vacant white or claret or blue seats, depending on where you look, inside London Stadium. Yeah, there are, and obviously there is a disappointment around West Ham in terms of league position. They've obviously had an incredible time European, winning the Conference League not so long ago. Change of management, change of style of football's taking time still to work. And I mean, I think this performance so far, the way in which they consider the goal is always going to add to that extra bit of frustration, and I think West Ham fans feel at the moment. The win last week against Manchester United was only the 4th in the Premier League for Graham Potter since he came in January, having replaced Julian Lopetegui. And West Ham in possession at the moment with Guido Rodriguez, World Cup and 2-time Copa America winner with Argentina. Feels like West Ham's team could be undergoing some serious reshaping this summer. West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 1. We've played 16.5 minutes and Wan-Bissaka on the halfway line, losing out, so Chris Wood collects it, the Kiwi, and goes back for Forest goal scorer Gibbs White. And here is Ola Aina inside his own half. Mark Schwarzer.
Yeah, West Ham at the moment are just a little bit standoffish. They're not really engaging enough. You can see Jared Bowen a couple of times throwing his hands up in the air, a bit frustrated. Feels like the referee's not giving him the assistance that he wants. But I think for Nottingham Forest, they've just been a lot more energy, a lot more on the front foot. And of course, when you're 1-0 up, that makes it a little bit easier, but they've obviously got so much to play for still as well.
Nico Williams, 5 yards inside West Ham's half, taken off him well by Guido Rodriguez, a combination of him and Sofal, taking the ball away from his possession as Ward-Prowse gives it to Kilman, and then out to the far left-hand side for Wan-Bissaka, who carries it up towards the halfway line, into the feet of Ward-Prowse, who did have those 9 Premier League appearances for Nottingham Forest in the first half of the season. It was pretty much one of Graham Potter's first acts, actually, when he came in as West Ham manager, to get him back from his loan spell at Forest, having been sent there by Lopetegui, as Todibo goes back for Areola, who has clouted that upfield towards the halfway line. He certainly didn't look like a man who was going to take another chance in terms of playing a short ball out. Yeah, that's always what happens. You made a mistake when you're trying to play out at the back. The next one is about just trying to get the ball out of danger, play it safe, don't make another mistake. So free kick to West Ham here. Sofal is stood over the ball. 179th West Ham appearance today, so he may very well get to 180 next week in his final West Ham United game, which is away at Ipswich. We'll have all of those Premier League games covered off, by the way, in the Premier League finale next week on 5 Live. All of those games starting at 4 o'clock as Kudus collects the ball on the edge of Nottingham Forest penalty area. Back with Wan-Bissaka, left-hand side, right-footed cross, headed away by Elliot Anderson for Forest. 18.5 minutes played, West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 1. This is Kilman. Now Creswell with his left foot locates Wan-Bissaka on the left-hand side. He's pushed it into the box for Kudus. Kudus has kept it active, and then it's bounced off a Forest player and has gone away. But amongst that confusion, there is a problem here for Jared Bowen, who has gone down inside the penalty area and is holding his face, and there's some concern from the Forest players. And straight over to Imola we go for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and we'll join Ben Edwards.
Max Verstappen is the race leader. Lando Norris running in second place, but it is a 9-second gap. Neither of them have made pit stops for new tyres, nor has Albon in third and Hadjar in fourth. But the leader of those that have made a pit stop, Oscar Piastri, and Charles Leclerc not too far behind him. We've got different strategies going on. This could end the race in different ways, but Verstappen's in very good form.
Cheers, Ben, thank you. Jared Bowen is still being treated at the moment. He's sat upright inside the Nottingham Forest 6-yard box. A couple of medical staff around him. One has got his hands on either side of Jared Bowen's face. And the reason for the concern, Mark, and you saw the Nottingham Forest players straight away, is that Jared Bowen has collided with the post, and that is obviously extremely pertinent given what happened to Taiwo Awoniyi last week.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it was a bit of a nudge, just a normal nudge in defending kind of an attacker going in the box as the ball's going to get whipped across. It's a bit of a nudge, and as Jared Bowen goes forward, he then falls to the ground and sort of just goes into the foot of the post. It did look a little bit nasty on the replay, but he's sitting up and he seems okay, but they're obviously still working, and Chill's trying to work out whether or not he's had any concussion and how bad the blow is to the head area.
Yeah, he's got the cold compression at the moment on the right side of the top of his temple, Jared Bowen. So a delay in the game here while Bowen gets some much needed treatment. Just over 20 minutes played. West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 1. So let's find out what will no doubt be great scenes of celebration that are ongoing. Ali Bruce Ball at Goodison Park right now in Everton's final game with the men's team there today.
Yeah, the farewell to Goodison in full flow. The music blasting right now. 80 former players, club legends all, suited and booted, making their way around a packed Goodison Park at the moment. Every single player roared to the rafters by the fans. Wayne Rooney, the last name read out, he's had an interesting relationship with Everton fans down the years. Massive roar for him. Duncan Ferguson's out there, Peter Beardsley, Bob Latchford, Neville Southall, warm reception for him, Graham Sharp, Kevin Sheedy. I could go on. They are going to have to drag them out of here today, Chris. Fantastic atmosphere inside the ground. It's been some day at Goodison.
Oh, what a privilege to be there today, Ali, I'm sure. I saw Don Hutchison actually during the week, former Everton captain, of course, and he was telling me how disappointed he was that he wasn't going to be able to be there because of work commitments, but I'm sure he's there in spirit today as well. Jared Bowen's been taken off the pitch here, but it looks, at least from my eyes from here, Mark, and we're a long way back in our commentary position, like he should be okay to continue with play back underway.
Yeah, it looks like he's getting ready to come back on again. He's just taking on some energy drinks. I think he's got Vaseline kind of to the left side of his eye, top of his sort of on his brow. He looks okay. He looks like he's going to come back on imminently.
So West Ham playing with 10 men at the moment, and Forest have got the ball 5 yards outside West Ham's penalty area, though Alanga's had it taken away from him by Guido Rodriguez for West Ham. West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 1, as Jared Bowen trots back onto the pitch again, which is really good to see. And Mohamed Kudus starts an electric run from that left-hand side. Now Souček trying to push it through to find Wan-Bissaka. It doesn't reach him, but Wan-Bissaka applauds the intent to try and do it. And Sangare for Forest on the middle of midfield, gives it to Gibbs White. Gibbs White into the box. It's a little wide of Chris Wood, who had to take a touch, and his attempted pullback hits the shins of Sofal and goes behind for a Nottingham Forest corner. West Ham 0, Forest 1. Mark Schwarzer.
Yeah, it was a really good ball from Morgan Gibbs White there. Just possibly a little bit heavy, but Chris Wood is making a run left of the goal as he's facing it, as he takes a really good touch, and he just keeps his composure. He knows he's not got much else to aim for, and instead he plays it for a corner. And this is why Nottingham Forest now are setting up, ready and waiting to get that ball back in the box.
We'll be heading to Wembley very shortly to see how the second half of the Women's FA Cup final has begun between Chelsea and Manchester United. Straight after this Nottingham Forest corner, we're past the midway point in the first half, whipped up towards that far post, the header pushed away by Areola. It was Wood who was in there, and then Gibbs White on the half volley. He doesn't make connections with it. He's got it again here, Gibbs White. Lovely first touch. He tumbles to the ground as he crosses the ball into the penalty area. Nico Williams has ended up on the ground too, and then Elliot Anderson has gone crashing into a tackle too on Kudus. A few incidents knocking around there, Mark, to get your teeth into.
Yeah, a lot of bodies flying around. There was a couple of challenges in the yard box. First on Gibbs White, which I think was just shoulder to shoulder, and then Elliot Anderson, I'm not quite sure. There's a challenge there late, and I mean, it was one that, not late, but it was a crunching challenge in the end. And I think the referee has just given a throw in, but Elliot Anderson's actually worked out to be worse off for it. He's holding his knee and now is being attended to.
Yeah, so we saw Jared Bowen down a minute ago, and Elliot Anderson, who was sat up, is now lying back down again and has got both his arms crossed across his face, so that looks a bit concerning for the former Newcastle midfielder. Yeah,
the chance from the corner there fell to Chris Wood. He's actually headed, I thought initially it was a save from the goalkeeper, but he's headed it down onto the ground and it's hit the outside of the post, bounced back out, into play, and that's what sort of continued that melee in the 8-yard box. But it was a half a chance there from Chris Wood.
Right, let's go west across the capital, shall we? Back to Wembley, Maz Faruqi.
Well, Manchester United have started the second half with intent. The header from Elizabeth Turner straight at Hannah Hampton in the Chelsea goal. Ella Toone is on for Manchester United in the second half as well, replacing Millie Turner. But they still trail by a 1-0 to Chelsea, who played 50 minutes here.
It's live right now on BBC One. You can listen to full live commentary on 5 Live Sports Extra 3 as well via the BBC Sounds app. Elliot Anderson is off the pitch and is just testing out some movement, I think, down on the touchline there, the Nottingham Forest midfielder, with West Ham restarting play, but trailing through that Morgan Gibbs-White goal after 11 minutes. We've played almost 26 minutes at London Stadium, though we are going to have quite a considerable number of minutes added on at the end of the first half here because of the injuries to both Anderson and that earlier one to Jarrod Bowen as well. This is Ward-Prowse in the centre circle with his blonde hair, right-footed pass out to Creswell, on towards Wan-Bissaka. Creswell on the overlap, Wan-Bissaka coming back infield, giving it to Ward-Prowse, and eventually it does come to Creswell on the left. Creswell's cross over the head of Murillo, who leapt for it and then met on the volley to clear it away for Forest by Nico Williams.
Other than the first couple of minutes where Nottingham Forest sort of struggled a little bit with the delivery in the box from West Ham, they've really actually sort of focused in and dealt with every sort of delivery in the box.
But Kudus here with a bit of room for West Ham. The pull back for Bowen. Bowen on his left foot. He's got Elliot Anderson right next to him. He's giving it back to Kudus, still inside the penalty area. His cross takes a deflection. Murillo keeps his eye on the direction of travel of the ball to hold his ground and head it away. But West Ham retrieve it again, and they've got it again on that left-hand side as well with Kudus. Kudus whipping his left foot around it, high up towards the far post. Sofal keeping it alive. Murillo there to nod it away once more for Nottingham Forest. What a bonus it is for Forest to have Murillo back in their team today after missing the game last week through injury, Mark.
Yeah, no, he's a big win, having back in the starting lineup, of course. And for Forest, you can see they've really started to grow into this game. They're a lot more confident. West Ham have struggled with that final delivery. They've had some decent areas, found themselves in decent areas of good possession, but really that final pass has let them down. Forest have actually really got back in defence really quickly and defended well.
1-0 Forest lead. West Ham 15th in the Premier League table. They could finish as high as 13th or as low as 17th. 40 points in what has largely been a pretty forgettable West Ham Premier League campaign. I think Graham Potter really did need that win at Manchester United last week. It was the first time they've won at Old Trafford in 18 seasons, West Ham United.
Yeah, it's a big win for him, and of course, yeah, like you're saying, it's his only 4th win since he's taken over. Certainly hasn't gone to plan. I think a lot of people would have expected a better impact than what he's had so far.
A spin from Bowen on the right wing, a cross which is blocked by Nico Williams, and behind, and West Ham have got a corner here in front of the Sir Trevor Brooking stand. They're going from left to right as we view it from our very lofty commentary position here at London Stadium. As James Ward-Prowse puts the ball down, there is a line of West Ham claret and blue flags that are draped along the side of the stand just to the right of where Ward-Prowse is taking this corner from. Raises his right arm into the air, in towards Todibo. Murillo jumps really well to win it for Forest, but back out it comes to this right-hand side again for Ward-Prowse. West Ham 0, Forest 1. Gibbs-White the goal scorer. Creswell now 20 yards outside the box to Sofal on this right-hand side, the Czech. And Sofal in towards the feet of Mohamed Kudus, who has looked bright as he wins the throw off Elliot Anderson there. His touches at times have been sharp, Mark.
Yeah, he's had a couple of moments on the ball where you thought, yeah, give him the ball, give him a good spot, give him an opportunity to run him behind. That pass just hasn't reached him.
Almost half an hour played. This is Aaron Wan-Bissaka, one of West Ham's players of the season. Wan-Bissaka, left-footed ball in towards the near post. That time it was Sangare who was marshalling that near post area well, and then Gibbs-White with a couple of very elegant touches inside his own box, getting Forest out of a problem. Yeah,
exceptional calmness on the ball. Morgan Gibbs-White there under a lot of pressure, just drops his shoulder, turns, looks up and finds a really good pass as well. Turns defending into attack very quickly.
And it is an attack now being led by Nico Williams, the Welshman on this left-hand side, though he showed too much of it to Sofal. And then it almost got caught underneath Nico Williams' feet, and he's the one who's ended up studying it out of play for a West Ham United goal kick.
Yeah, a little bit frustrating there for Nottingham Forest because they found themselves in a good position down the left-hand side. Nico Williams running with the ball at his feet into the 18-yard box, looking to take on Soufal when Soufal's just backtracking the whole time, and it's just Williams who takes that slightly heavy touch and loses control of the ball.
Nottingham Forest still trying to get themselves into Champions League football next season. The opportunity for both Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United to do that as well in the Europa League final during the week, because that is what winning that trophy will bring next season. We'll have that game live for you on 5 Live and via BBC Sounds. All the build-up from Bilbao from 7 o'clock on Wednesday evening, as Murillo just has his heels clipped. Guido Rodriguez disagrees, and well, he might, because Mohamed Kudus had the whistle not gone, had a bit of a run at Forest's defence there. Yeah,
just watching again in the replay, I mean, it's a slip, isn't it? Rodriguez actually slips, and by doing so, he takes Murillo's foot. Murillo's actually a little bit down on his haunches there. You can feeling that challenge.
Here's Gibbs White, taking it back off Sangare in the middle of midfield. Now, Ward-Prowse, we've got a few of the floodlights on, which are situated high up all around these stadiums in steel frames, which are enormous triangular shaped objects with the floodlights within them. And it is a slightly dark day as well, as the ball goes back to West Ham's goalkeeper in all green, Alphonse Areola, who made the error that has led to the only goal of the game so far, his pass which was short and intercepted by Morgan Gibbs-White, who calmly put it into the net. But West Ham have been good in these last 5 minutes, and forward they come again down the left-hand side, which is an area that they are working towards at the moment as the ball heads over the bar from Mohamed Kudus. They are using that left wing really effectively, West Ham, in this first half, Mark.
Yeah, Wan-Bissaka and Cresswell operating really well down the left-hand side. The delivery in the box was really good at far post area. Kudus is up really well, very well timed run into that far corner, sort of far inside, far post area, and he just can't get enough control on the header, but he out-jumps 2 of Nottingham Forest players and does really well.
He's only got 1 goal in 2025 for West Ham, Mohamed Kudus, and that was in that 3-2 defeat at Brighton a few weeks ago. Almost inexplicable that West Ham lost that game, considering they were winning it with about 3 minutes to go. It's sort of been the story of West Ham's season, really. And I noted as well that they, in terms of playing teams in the top 8 this season, the teams that are currently in the top 8 in the Premier League, here at home they've lost all of them. So if they're beaten by Nottingham Forest today, that means all 8 teams in the Premier League this season have come here and won, and that's probably why West Ham find themselves in the position they're in.
Yeah, it's not just those games, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a case of over the course of the season, the consistency or lack of consistency. There's been obviously change of management, which makes a big difference. It's going to take time, change of style of play. So it's a combination of things.
Nico Williams, chipped ball over the top for Forest on this left side, where Elanga, with the very obvious white bandaging, it looks like, around his left wrist, loses out to Debo, the West Ham centre-half. And he plays it up towards the feet of Thomas Souček, who's on 9 Premier League goals. Bowen trying to disrupt things, Kudus unable to get on to the bits and pieces that followed, and Forest retrieve it again, and very neatly between Murillo and Nico Williams play their way through. And unfortunately, it all ends when Dominguez overstrikes the pass down the left wing for Elliot Anderson. But it was a lovely bit of play by Forest.
Yeah, I thought Forest scrambled really well there. West Ham were looking to try and penetrate in behind there. You could see that ball from Bowen to Kudus. Kudus just couldn't quite get on the end of it. Mikolenko was really, really quick. Mikolenkovic, sorry, was really quick out diving and makes the really important challenge.
So Forest still leading 1-0 here on 5 Live. We're on BBC Sounds as well, and we've got more live football to come for you in the Premier League later. Arsenal against Newcastle from 4:30. John Murray and Glenn Murray will be there for that one. This is Wan-Bissaka for West Ham. 1-2 with Cresswell. Now to the edge of the area for Souček, into the box for Bowen, and plunging at his feet was Sangare for Nottingham Forest with a well-timed challenge.
Yeah, it needed to be as well, because he's gone down to ground at the feet of Jared Bowen, but it's because Jared Bowen goes back to him and just turns straight into him. So he's actually a little bit fortunate, Sangare, that Bowen actually makes that turn.
Here's Gibbs White, the Nottingham Forest goal scorer, on the left wing. so foul, comes back and helps out James Ward-Prowse, who was isolated in a one-on-one. But as soon as it became 2-on-1, West Ham had the advantage, and they now bring the ball away. And a bit of a roar from London Stadium as well, as Souček lifts the ball out to the left wing for Wan-Bissaka, but his attempted through ball for Jared Bowen is intercepted by Ola Aina. They really did miss him in those few games where Ola Aina was absent, didn't they? Nottingham Forest. He has been an integral member of this brilliant Forest season.
I think part of the reason why Forest have had such a consistent season is, generally speaking, they've been able to play, you know, a similar lineup each week. They've got that consistency of a really solid back five who have worked really well together.
Right, back we go to Wembley. Chelsea against Manchester United in that FA Cup final. 2 Wembley appearances in 2 days for you, Maz.
Manchester United still trying to find the equaliser, Chris. A lofted ball into the area, easily gathered by Hammerhampton, and that Sandy Baltimore penalty just before half-time. Still the difference between these sides. Still Chelsea 1, Manchester United 0.
It was a great listen yesterday on 5 Live. That FA Cup men's final between Crystal Palace and Manchester City. And if you missed it, or if you're a Palace fan and you're wondering how the goals sounded, you can spin back through and listen to the whole game on the BBC Sounds app, as you can do with every single game on 5 Live and on 5 Live Sports Extra. West Ham winning a free kick here just inside Nottingham Forest half. Jared Bowen, who's half of his shorts have ridden up, is pulling them back down. He's been sent tumbling there.
I think that was a result of Jared Bowen continuously questioning the referee's decisions. There's a couple of moments before him where he probably should have, or a couple of instances in this first half where he probably should have had a free kick. He didn't get one, and I think on this occasion it wasn't a free kick, and he managed to convince the referee otherwise.
Oh, this is Cresswell inside the box. He tried to backheel it to see if he could get it to either Souček or Bowen waiting in the middle. It was an awkward moment for Forest, because they were the ones ultimately who made the error that led to that opportunity for West Ham to almost find an equaliser.
Yeah, it was a good little play from West Ham down the left-hand side once again. Kilman involved very much so. The ball actually ricochets off a Forest player, and the ball ends up at Cresswell's feet. That's what ends up causing the bit of confusion in the Forest defence. And in the end, they just deal with it enough to give away a corner.
8 minutes left of the first half. West Ham corner from the left. Ward-Prowse up towards the far post. Souček was always going to attack it, but in there, referee Sam Barrett has seen a foul. It was Chris Wood, I think, who ended up on the floor. So Nottingham Forest free kick, with them leading West Ham United by a 1-0. We've got one of the all-time Premier League appearance makers with us in the commentary box today, Mark Schwarzer. And from what you've seen on the basis of Nottingham Forest's performance so far, they don't look like a team that have only won 1 of their last 6 in the Premier League.
No, they don't. Obviously, you have to say they were gifted their goal today. It was a mistake from Alphonse Areola, a gift of a pass to Morgan Gibbs-White from an area where he's never going to miss from. And I think other than that, the game's been pretty even. Both sides have had big chances. Both goalkeepers have played their part, made some big saves. But, you know, for Forest, they're a side that, obviously, I think as the game has gone on, they're finding themselves 1-0 ahead. They've actually grown in the game a little bit more.
Chris Wood feeding it through for Forest. Elanga onto it. Out comes Areola. And the West Ham goalkeeper doesn't have to dive. He can just casually pick the ball up and bowl it out to one of his 3 centre-halves today, which is Max Kilman, who's taken the ball off him. And Ward-Prowse goes back to the former Wolves defender, who of course played with Nuno Espirito Santo at Molineux. And here is Todibo up towards the halfway line for West Ham. Kudus with the layoff, and Rodriguez trying to switch play to the far left-hand side. Lorena intercepts it for Nottingham Forest, and this is Sangare, who's only just come back into the Forest team in recent weeks. Ibrahim Sangare. Now Gibbs-White for Forest, and again some room being created down the left wing for Nico Williams. Over comes Elliot Anderson to get it back off him. Short pass for Gibbs-White, and back on the halfway line is Dominguez. Forward again for Gibbs-White. Now Elanga. Anderson into the left-hand side for Gibbs-White, who lifts it into the box, and it is Nico Williams who's kept it active, and he had to fire that ball across, and actually, even though it went over Chris Wood's head, it had gone out of play, so it is going to be a West Ham goal kick.
Yeah, linesman was very, very slow to lift his flag, actually. I'm not quite sure what he was waiting for. There was no advantage to be played. The ball went over the top. It looked like it went out from where we're sitting, but we are a long way away. In the end, the linesman, for some reason, just took his time about making that decision.
can see Nuno Espirito Santo down there, the Nottingham Forest manager, with his arms folded on the edge of his technical area. What did you make of what happened last week against Leicester City when the owner, Evangelos Marinakis, came onto the pitch to have what looked like quite a heated conversation with his manager?
It's really easy, obviously, to get carried away with it, and you know, it's something that we don't really see in the English game when an owner of a club comes on the pitch and has a discussion with the manager, and a heated one at that. But we don't know what was said, and it's very easy to jump to conclusions. And obviously, Nottingham Forest have come out and explained their view on it all, and made it very clear that there was no argument, there was no sort of aggression towards the manager. It was more about frustration and the injury to one of their players.
Ball over the top, looking for Woods. Woods in the box. Wood trying to square it. Tadebo's cut it out, but it's only come back to Chris Wood again, and Areola stops him. And then eventually, at the end of all that, an offside flag goes up against Chris Wood. Feels a bit like last week in Anthony Elanga.
Yeah, it's crazy, really, isn't it? It's just taken so long. I mean, I can understand, and I don't know whether that actually was offside. So, okay, the linesman in this occasion is probably right to let it go. He has made a call afterwards as the flow of the move pans out. Chris Wood found himself in a really good position. I don't think he could ever feel like the ball would come away from underneath his feet. Kind of felt it was always stuck underneath him, and so that's why he opts to lay the ball square, and allows West Ham to get players back. And then once the ball falls back to Chris Wood, again, he couldn't get the space he needed to get a proper shot on goal. And Alfonso Areola makes a really good save in the end.
Scored in the reverse game between these two, Chris Wood, in that 3-0 Nottingham Forest win. West Ham have got a throw on the halfway line here, trailing by a 1-0. We're into the final 4 minutes of the half. 20 Premier League goals this season, so no surprise really to see that he and Morgan Gibbs-White were two of the 8 that were nominated for Premier League Player of the Season this week, as well as the ball is clattered out of play again, this time by a West Ham player for a Forest throw on the far right.
Yeah, 2 players have had outstanding seasons, there's no doubt about that whatsoever, so no surprise there. Chris Wood has been excellent as well. I mean, goal scoring, and that's why it surprised me there on that occasion. One-on-one with a goalkeeper, doesn't just go for it because he's so high in confidence. But I think what we've seen in this game already in this first 45 minutes, he's also not afraid to just find himself in space and look for a player, a teammate that's in a better position, lay a ball off, give a teammate an opportunity in a better position to possibly score.
Murillo was on one of those big bombarding runs again from centre half there. He carried it about 40 yards and then he almost fell over his own feet, the Nottingham Forest defender. Just reminded me of that amazing run he went on at Crystal Palace, do you remember, where he almost scored one of the best goals the Premier League has ever seen?
Almost.
Here's Kudus for West Ham, halfway inside his own half. Ward-Prowse, who is quite the metronome really in the West Ham midfield. So foul from the right wing, trying to bend one behind Forest's backline for Bowen to chase. Nico Williams covering the ground, and he's done well, Nico Williams, because he's played the ball off Jared Bowen. So it's gone out of play for a Nottingham Forest goal kick. They're 1-0 up, and we've got 2 minutes of the first half to play.
Yeah, I wonder how fit Murillo actually is. I mean, he's looked like he's hobbling again. He's down, kind of bent over, touching his left foot. It seems like he's been a bit in the wars in this first 45 minutes. So I mean, he's jogging out of his 18-yard box now. Seems okay. I'm not sure whether that's maybe a little bit more for show and maybe a little bit more time wasting up to half time.
I'm always quite taken by Murillo's shorts as well, because they're enormous. If you're trying to treat a hamstring injury, it would take you about 4 hours to roll them up.
Well, it would as well. I mean, he's got the black tape as well down both his left and right hamstrings, so clearly there's a lot of work going into those thighs and those hamstrings.
Maybe that's the idea of the shorts, that you'll just grow into them as time goes on. As the ball runs out of play for a Nottingham Forest throw, but it's deep inside their own half on this near side to us. Forest going from right to left. In the first half here at London Stadium, I can see a few West Ham supporters around us who are taking the opportunity to head to the bar to get a half-time drink early to beat the crowds. I mentioned earlier that there's quite a few spare seats inside the stadium, where there's many more now, with many choosing to go for a quick drink.
Yeah, I think a lot of them have decided, it's time to go now before the half-time break, to get up there nice and early. They've probably seen enough of that first 45 minutes. A little bit disappointing, more so the fact that they're 1-0 down from a mistake rather than Nottingham Forest necessarily, creating something on their own merit.
Just underway in the two other Premier League games that started at 3 o'clock today. That's Brentford against Fulham and Leicester Ipswich. Some of the West Ham supporters feeling that Jarrod Bowen's shirt was tugged there as he was trying to run towards Forest back line.
I think that's a foul, and the referee goes the easy option there. Morello's got his both arms around Jarrod Bowen's waist and prevents him from getting through, and Morello in the end just toe pokes the ball away. So I don't know why the referee has just allowed that to happen. At the moment, Morello's just kind of manhandled Jarrod Bowen quite often in this first 45 minutes.
4 minutes of stoppage time. Forest leading by a goal to nil, and on the attack on the right-hand side, the cross into the penalty area from Dominguez, takes a deflection and goes behind for a Nottingham Forest corner. So a chance to strike a second and potentially decisive blow to the Hammers here before the break, Mark.
And it would be bitter blow because, like I said, it should be a foul up the other end of the pitch. You see Graham Potter still, just recently now, has been remonstrating with the fourth official, not happy, the linesman as well, the fact that he believes he was right in front of him and it should have been a free kick.
So as always, Murillo and Milenkovic, the two Nottingham Forest centre-backs, both offering aerial presence. They're inside the West Ham box for this corner, which Alanga sends in towards the near post. Tadebo's header away. It comes to Elliot Anderson on the edge of the box, but Kudus was very quick to get across his path, take the ball away from him, and now start a West Ham attack of his own. And Kudus encouraged to keep going by the West Ham fans, and he does keep going, and he pushes it towards Sofal, and Sofal can't really do much more than try and win a corner. It's come off Milenkovic, then bounced off Sofal. Goal kicked the decision, but Sofal has got up and into the face of the assistant referee, and because of that, Sam Barrett, the referee, is going to book him for it.
Well, I think the referee has no other option. He has to book him. I mean, I can understand Sofal's frustration. I mean, from where we're sitting, let's see it on the replay now, was it? Yeah, it should have definitely been a corner for West Ham. Definitely comes off Milenkovic in the end, and I can understand wholeheartedly why he's so frustrated. The linesman is right there. The linesman's got to make that call, and he doesn't.
He's a bit hyped up at the moment, Vladimir Sofal, but he put a lovely emotional message on the club's website this week off the back of the news that he'll be leaving this summer. And in his personal letter to the West Ham fans, he said he never imagined he would be so emotional leaving this football club. And clearly quite an emotional player, given that reaction to the decision that didn't go his way there, as the ball runs out of play for a West Ham throw just inside their own half, near side on the right. We are a couple of minutes into the 4 of stoppage time, with West Ham trailing by a goal to nil. Murillo keeping the ball away from Jarrod Bowen on the edge of his own box. Then Forest getting it up towards Gibbs White, who just uses that ball so well when he gets it at his feet, Morgan Gibbs White. He's lifted it out to the left wing for Anderson. Back it comes 10 yards for Nico Williams. Williams cross up towards the far post. That's come off a West Ham head, I think. Cresswell got a touch on it. It's going to be a Nottingham Forest corner right at the end of this first half.
Yeah, he needed to. Cresswell needed to get that touch on the ball. The ball was whipped into that far post area. There's a Forest player making an overlapping run, and Cresswell, had he not got that flick on, it would have been a clear opportunity at goal.
So 4 minutes was indicated. We've played 3 minutes and 15 seconds of stoppage time here, so one would imagine this is probably going to be the last chance of the half at London Stadium. And Anthony Alanga, in his sky blue kit, placing the ball down on that right hand side, and with his right foot swings it into the near post. The header away is by Souček, who so often is a very handy weapon to have defensively as well as going forward. Another ball in from Alanga from that right wing. Again, it's cleared away, and Kudus beating Alanga to the ball, and then Alanga and a combination of him and a teammate helping to get it back, and the ball into the penalty area is dropped back towards the feet of Alanga. Alanga's dinked it up, it's bounced behind, it's come off Cresswell again. I think it's going to be another Nottingham Forest corner, and Murillo, before that's going to be taken, is saying he's got a problem here. In fact, he's indicating with his fingers that he's not going to be able to continue. He's sort of pointing and rolling his hands in that motion that we all know in football, Mark Schwarzer, means get me off.
Yeah, we'll see it now in the replay. I think he's rolled his ankle. We'll have to see it again. Yeah, can't really see it on that challenge on the replay. Seeing another gain, another angle as a ball, as a bit of a melee of players. I think it's just the way he's landed. I don't think there's any other contact that has possibly caused the injury, but he's signalled straight away that he needs to come off, so we'll wait and see how it goes. But even like I said, he's kind of showed or alluded to a couple of times in this first 45 minutes that he's struggled with various parts of his body. This one looks a little bit more serious.
Yeah, but what's interesting there is that he was holding his right foot when he went down there, Murillo, and the injury that kept him out last week against Leicester was a hamstring problem, so potentially we're talking about two different injuries here.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, he's still on the ground. There's still a lot of treatment going on and players around, so we'll have to wait and see what this one is.
Nuno looks a bit concerned, the Nottingham Forest manager. He's pacing around inside his technical area at the moment. Sort of player that even with a game and a half left to play of the season, Forest really don't want to lose. But Murillo is slowly being helped back to his feet, so let's quickly go to Wembley for the Women's FA Cup final. They're in the second half with you, Maz. Chelsea against Manchester United.
Yeah, 15 minutes plus stoppage time to go, Chris. Gabby George almost with an own goal for Manchester United, just heading wide of the right post. Katerina Macario for Myra Ramirez as well. That the first Chelsea change in the second half. They're making a couple more now, and Chelsea still lead Manchester United by 1-0 in the Women's FA Cup final.
Murillo hobbling off the pitch, and he's really taking his time to get off as well. We've only really got seconds of this first half to play. Nuno has decided not to make a change for now, so they're going to assess Murillo at half-time, one would imagine, and play the final few seconds of this half with the 10 men. It's a Forest corner, they're 1-0 up. It's Alanga's delivery, it's Wood's flick on, but it's bounced to the left-hand side of the penalty area, and back it goes to the halfway line, and there is the half-time whistle with the scoreline: West Ham United 0, Nottingham Forest 1. Morgan Gibbs-White the goal scorer, 11 minutes in. Areola, the West Ham goalkeeper, passing the ball out straight to Gibbs-White, who put it into the back of the net. And as it stands, Mark Schwarzer for Nottingham Forest, they are moving on to 65 points, level with Manchester City, who will still be above them because of goal difference. But this is what they need to do in terms of keeping hopes of Champions League football alive.
They do, yeah. First 45 minutes, you can tick that one. But it isn't going to be good news necessarily for Forest. Murillo is really gingerly going off. They've called for the stretcher. He's going to be helped to the golf buggy kind of with a stretcher on it now, and I mean, they're going to have to perform miracles for him to get out this second half the way he's trying to get on that golf buggy.
Yeah, I think we can expect, Steve, to see a Nottingham Forest change at half-time, because Murillo doesn't look at all comfortable, and in fact looks rather emotional as well, as he sits on the back of that almost golf buggy-like vehicle to be taken away, with the scoreline West Ham United 0, Nottingham Forest 1.
OK, thank you very much for the time being, you two. Yeah, that's got to be a big worry for Forest fans over Murillo for the final game of the season as well. Remember, they play Chelsea on the final day, all kinds of European permutations going on. As it stands, with Forest leading 1-0 at West Ham, and of course Manchester City and Newcastle have got a game in hand to play, there would be 1 point between Forest in 7th and Newcastle in 3rd. Newcastle's game at Arsenal at 4:30, full commentary here on 5 Live. Right now on Sports Extra 2, Brentford Fulham in the Premier League. John Southall.
And it also means, Steve, that 8th place still could get that Europa Conference League place. It's Brentford 0, Fulham 0. A couple of chances for Raul Jimenez. The first stretching 8 yards out, deflected behind, and then Jimenez again, similar distance, straight at Fleck, and neither really fell for him. Brentford 0, Fulham 0.
Let's check in on Jamie Vardy Day at the King Power. Pat Murphy.
0-0 on Vardy watch. Early flicked on, headed to Ayew, typical Vardy. Then he was clattered from behind by O'Shea. The game itself, Ipswich best chance. Davis, narrow angle, powerful left foot shot, palmed away by the keeper Solaric. It's Leicester 0, Ipswich 0.
Right now on Sports Extra 3, the Women's FA Cup final in full, still all to play for. Maz Faruqi.
Yeah, and it's a very pensive Mark Skinner in the Manchester United technical area, Steve, as they try to find the equaliser. Manchester United, the camera was just trained on 37-year-old Rachel Williams on the United subs bench. She scored some big goals off the bench for Manchester United the last couple of seasons. I wonder if Mark Skinner might bring on for the last few minutes. We've played 79 minutes here. Chelsea still lead Manchester United in the Women's FA Cup Cup final by a 1-0.
We are underway on the final day of the Scottish Premiership. Plenty of nerves around for Dundee at St Johnstone. Gavin Wallace.
10 on the clock, Steve. They're drawing 0-0. Mulligan's just flashed one across the face of goal. Before that, Sidibe for the hosts was through. Should have played it out to McPake. He didn't. But with the result still 0-0 in the Highlands of Ross County, it means Dundee, as it stands, are still safe. 0-0 here in Perth.
And the other game currently is Kilmarnock 0, Hearts 0. So either Ross County or Dundee, by the end of the day, will finish in that relegation playoff place. They'll play Livingston, whoever ends up on the wrong side of that. What about the Grand Prix at Imola, Ben Edwards?
Well, it's all happening at the Grand Prix at Imola because it's a complete change. We've just had a full safety car period. Max Verstappen is still leading the race, but now he's going to have the McLarens of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris right behind him once the safety car moves away. So the final stage of this race, some 12-13 laps, it's going to be very exciting, but Max Verstappen has dominated the race so far.
Full commentary right now on 5 Sports Extra. Back to Brentford, John Southall.
Good start to the game here, Steve. Brentford 0, Fulham 0. First chance for Brentford. Damsgaard to Wieser on the right-hand side. Saved by Leno. Wieser then pulled it back to Damsgaard. His shot was blocked. Smith Rose also had an effort. Saved at his near post by Flecken. Brentford 0, Fulham 0.
9 games in the County Championship cricket today. To the Oval, champion Surrey in control against Yorkshire. Kevin Howells.
Very much so. Odds against Yorkshire here. They're in their second innings, 43 for 2. They still trail by 214 runs. It's been a good day for Jordan Clark of Surrey, 69 in that Surrey first innings total of 512, and he's just got rid of Adam Lyth as well, key wicket for only 16. Other notable scores in Division 1, Sussex 304 for 9 second innings, leads Somerset by just 118 runs. Warwickshire 124 for 5 in chasing down 310, and Essex against Worcestershire without a win this season. Essex 47 for 5, still need another 289 runs.
Thank you very much, Kevin. So shortly we'll be off to the Emirates for the first time today. Arsenal versus Newcastle in full at 4:30. Then we'll be back to Goodison Park as well for more on the goodbye there, which is ongoing right now, all before second half commentary at the London Stadium. Let's get the news first on 5 Live with Sarah Green.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The minister in charge of negotiations on closer ties with the EU says he's pushing for a deal to allow British people to use European e-gates at airports. Nick Thomas-Symonds has been speaking ahead of a major EU-UK summit in London tomorrow. The Conservatives are accusing the government of planning to turn the UK into a rule taker. The Whitehall editor of the Financial Times, Lucy Fisher, explains what both sides want to achieve.
The key things that the EU wants are a youth mobility scheme that could permit 18 to 30-year-olds to come and work or study in the UK. The other thing that Brussels wants is a long-term extension of current fishing rights. By turns, the UK's key demands are wanting better access to the continent for touring musicians and a veterinary agreement that would reduce barriers to trade in agri-food products.
More than 130 people are reported to have been killed in Israeli strikes on Gaza since dawn. The Hamas-run health ministry says all 3 public hospitals in the north of the territory are now out of service. A 16-year-old boy has died after a disturbance at Irvine Beach in North Ayrshire. Police Scotland are urging people who have any information about the incident to contact them. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum says she's deeply saddened by the death of 2 people aboard a Mexican Navy ship which crashed into Brooklyn Bridge in New York overnight. Local police say the vessel appears to have lost power. And Pope Leo has met the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky after his inaugural mass in Rome. The Pope referred to Ukraine as a martyred country and called for a just and lasting peace.
If you love your pop, this is right up your street.
Pop Top 10 with Scott and Rylan.
We've picked some of the most hotly contested questions of all time and decided to settle them once and for all with the help of some special guests. We're taking it very seriously.
I can't let things like that slide on this show.
No, come on!
What are you on about?
Don't put words into my mouth.
I won't, darling. You're spatting them yourself.
Search Pop Top 10 to listen on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
There's been a goal at Brentford, John Southall.
And it's gone to Fulham. Brentford 0, Fulham 1. Adama Traoré with the cross from the right-hand side. And there was Raul Jimenez with the header. Should Flecken have kept it out? Possibly, we'll look at that again. But Fulham lead by 1-0. Jimenez with his 12th league goal of the season.
A couple of congratulations to say. Firstly to Boreham Wood. They've beaten Maidstone by 1-0 in the National League South playoff final. They will be playing National League football next season. There's been a goal in the Women's FA Cup final. Maz.
And that's probably wrapped up the domestic treble for Chelsea. Their second goal, a header from Katerina Macario. The free kick from the right-hand side swept into her by Sandy Baltimore, who of course scored the penalty just before half-time that had put Chelsea 1-0 up in this game. They're now 2-0 up. Chelsea 2, Manchester United 0. 85 minutes played now in the Women's FA Cup final.
So we're going to be congratulating Chelsea very shortly by the looks of it, and they'll be lifting that Women's FA Cup. Congratulations to Hibs, who'll be lifting the Women's Scottish Premier League for the first time in 18 years. Came down to a final day decided between them and Rangers at Ibrox, and Hibs won by 1-0. No trophy at Goodison Park, but the emotional cup is overflowing, Ali Bruce Ball.
Memories to last forever, Steve. The ceremony after the game is now coming to a close. We're about to hear Bill Ryder-Jones, local artist, play a Spirit of the Blues, and then the Beatles, In My Life. I'm told during the end of the second song we are going to have a pyrotechnic display above Goodison Park. It's going to be well worth watching. No one's left their seats. Last time you were with me, what a treat for those lucky fans that have made it into the stadium today. We had the messages on the big screen from the likes of Judi Dench. I mean, what a mix this is. Carlo Ancelotti, Jodie Comer, Sylvester Stallone, Sir Alex Ferguson, then the parade of legends. So 80 players, Pat Nevin down in amongst them. Some great names, some great memories down there. Bob Latchford, Neville Southall, some of them stopped and chatted as well. Andy Gray, former Everton striker, coming up with the great line, we're all leaving Goodison, but Goodison will never leave us. Lovely interchange as well between Wayne Rooney and the Gladys Street end. They put Wayne Rooney and Duncan Ferguson together, and there was a real bit of to and fro. Rooney would speak, they would sing, and as I said a little bit earlier, that's been a tricky relationship down the years, but only warmth and love today. Leighton Baines, he spoke as well, got a massive roar from the Everton fans. The first team then did a lap of honour, and David Moyes was the last to speak. He described the atmosphere outside the stadium today, Steve, as unbelievable, and I tell you, when you see the images, you've got to go and find them on social media. It was, but he also made the crucial point, we have to take this with us to the new home. So David Moyes and the players very much thanking the fans. And now just have a listen to this. They're going to keep singing all afternoon, Steve. Fireworks on the way. It's been Sunday. Oh, they beat Southampton 2-0, by the way.
Let's bring in correspondent John Murray at the Emirates, not immediately to talk about Arsenal-Newcastle. John, I'm sure you've been seeing some of the pictures. I mean, Everton, as you'd expect, are just absolutely nailing this.
Yeah, and we've had the big build-up, so there was a bit of pressure on, wasn't there, for them to deliver. But I know I was talking or in communication earlier with our chief football writer Phil McNulty, who told me that it took him 3/4 of an hour to walk from Stanley Park into the ground. So packed were the streets outside. So yeah, they're milking it, and why not?
Well, absolutely. And we've been talking about iconic moments, both from former players. Pat Nevin gave us some wonderful memories a little bit earlier. Ali was telling us about what he'll remember. Would your last moment have been the James Tarkowski goal, John?
Yeah, that was my last experience of being inside Goodison Park to watch the men's team, was that incredible equaliser and the reaction that there was to it. But I remember going right back into my local radio days. The first time I went to Goodison Park, we were commentating not from up in the stands where Ali's sitting now, but from right down behind the dugouts, which was quite a novel experience as well. So I missed going there during their great years under Howard Kendall. That was just before my time really doing this job. But I also remember a big night against Villarreal in the Champions League qualifier under David Moyes' first time round, which really generated and gave you a sense of what it must have been like when when Everton were really packing a punch.
It's going to feel a little bit odd later, I think, John, because it's an important game that you're at, but by the time everything else is wrapped up, we'll have very little time to build up before you'll be in full flow.
Yes, a couple of things. I can bring you the team news, and the big news here is that there's no Alexander Isak for Newcastle, so their top scorer is out of the match. I'm told that he's got a slight groin problem, so he's not involved. So Callum Wilson's playing up front for Newcastle, and a boost for Arsenal in that Declan Rice and Leandro Trossard are both fit, and they're in the teams. They're in the sides. Have I got time to run you through the teams or not?
Yeah, go on.
Arsenal, Raya, White, Saliba, Kivior and Lewis Skelly, Odegaard, Partey and Rice, Saka, Trossard and Martinelli, and Newcastle, Pope in goal, Cher, Botman and Byrne, Murphy, Guimaraes, Tonali and Livramento, Gordon, Barnes and Wilson. And one other thing to add, some very interesting comments from Josh Kroenke, the co-chair of Arsenal, in today's match programme.
All right. We will get back to that then. We're going to go to Brentford, where there's been a goal, John Southall.
The two of them at it again. Brentford 1, Fulham 1. Wissa to Mbeumo on the right of the penalty area, and you just knew he'd finish it into the bottom left-hand corner. 19 league goals for him this season for Mbeumo. He's been brilliant. Brentford 1, Fulham 1.
Chelsea closing in on the Women's FA Cup and the treble as well. Maz Faruqi.
Yeah, the clean sweep of domestic trophies on for Sonia Bonpastor in her first season in English football. Chelsea seeing this out. We're into the 90th minute now, but 10 minutes of stoppage time has just come up on the board. Guru Wrighton about to come on for Chelsea as well. Still Chelsea 0, Manchester United Chelsea 2 rather, Manchester United 0.
Remember, it is an awfully big day at the bottom of the Scottish Premiership for Ross County and Dundee, who are at St Johnstone. Gavin Wallace.
Still 0-0, 20 minutes on the clock here. St Johnstone having the lion's share of possession, but Lyle Cameron picked the ball up 20 yards out for the visitors. They just whistled by Ross Sinclair's post. As it stands though, it's still 0-0 in the Highlands at the moment, and that would mean Dundee would remain in 10th. 0-0 here in Perth.
Breaking news, Jamie Vardy's had a shot, Pat Murphy.
0-0, Vardy watched two things. He evaded a desperate tackle by O'Shea. He was forced wide though, sliced his shot into the side netting. A minute later, he turned Morty cleverly, stabbed the left foot shot, hit the side netting. He's getting closer. Leicester 0, Ipswich 0.
Chelsea treble with a treble. Maz Faruqi.
Yeah, the third goal, her second of the match. Sandy Baltimore in stoppage time, in front of the Chelsea fans as well, who are waving those Chelsea flags aloft to the right of me here inside Wembley Stadium. That is the win. That is the FA Cup final secured for Chelsea. 3-0 they lead in the 92nd minute.
Thank you very much, Maz. Remember, you can watch via the BBC Sport website and app 5 Live final score, so you get all of the graphics going on as we bring you the day's sporting action here on 5 Live. So Arsenal Newcastle in full at 4:30. Sports Extra 2 right now for Brentford Fulham in the Premier League. That one is 1-1 in the first half. 5 Sports Extra right at the end now of the Grand Prix Emilia Romagna in Italy. Here on 5 Live, West Ham versus Nottingham Forest, the second half in the Premier League with Mark Schwarzer and Chris Wise.
Well, for one final time, the bubble machine is being used for this season at London Stadium as the players emerge from the tunnel onto the pitch. And unbelievably, considering what happened at the end of the first half, Murillo is out there, Mark Schwarzer, the Nottingham Forest centre-back.
And he was doing runs and sprints and changing the directions. And I'm like, wow, is this the same player that came off at half-time and needed a buggy to take him back to the change room? Yeah, amazing recovery at half-time.
And I saw Morato out there as well, the Nottingham Forest defender, during the break. He actually had his jersey off, so I could clearly see the number 4 on the back of his shirt. So I just automatically presumed, well, 100% he's coming on, but he hasn't come on. So we are, as we were. I'll give you the two teams in just a moment. West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 1 is the scoreline at London Stadium in what is West Ham's final home game of the season. And for Nottingham Forest, clearly the prize is far greater, with the greatest of respect to West Ham, than it is to the Hammers today, because a win keeps alive their hopes of Champions League football.
Yeah, very much so. And we saw then, we saw when they took the lead, the celebrations just in the technical area between Nuno and the rest of his staff. There is a lot of joy and excitement about taking the lead, and of course the importance of this game staying in the mix. Nottingham Forest giving themselves every opportunity to finish in a Champions League spot if they win today.
Morgan Gibbs-White's got the goal. Here are the teams with West Ham in possession inside their own half. Areola in goal, who's had 15 further minutes to ruminate on his error that led to that Nottingham Forest goal. Todibo, Kilman and Creswell are the three centre-backs. And then Ward-Prowse and Rodriguez in midfield. Sofal and Wan-Bissaka on the right and the left wing-back positions respectively. Socek playing off the forwards, Bowen and Kudus as a ball is swung into Forest penalty area and it drops to the edge of the box where Creswell hits it on the hard volley. He's got a big smile on his face, Aaron Creswell. He didn't get that right. There isn't going to be a fairy tale West Ham home departure with a goal for him yet.
Well, it would have been an unbelievable goal because he actually outmuscles Elanga to the ball, and in doing so, Elanga's sort of pressure on him spins him around, makes him do a 360. Creswell, and as Creswell then turns, he hits it on the volley and just gets his direction a little bit wrong, but would have been an incredible goal.
11 years Aaron Creswell's been at West Ham United. He played in the final game at the Boleyn ground, the old Boleyn ground where West Ham were before they moved here. Got an England call-up as well during his time with the Hammers. West Ham has started this second half well. Another ball into Forest box. Milinkovic has left it though, knowing that he doesn't need to get a touch on it, the Forest defender, and it runs behind for a goal kick, and we are going straight to Brentford-Fulham because it's been a frantic start, John Southall.
It has.
It might be getting more interesting.
Absolutely, Chris. It's Brentford 1, Fulham 1. It's a penalty to Brentford. You know who's taking this. Brian Mbeumo Shada went down in the penalty area, caught by Joachim Andersen. VAR took a long look at it and they've given it, and here he is. Brian Mbeumo just equalised for Brentford. 19 Premier League goals this season. Steps up and he's been saved. The goalkeeper saved it on the rebound, Lewis Potter, and that goes behind for a corner. Doesn't miss many, Brian Mbeumo, but a really good save from Leno, and it remains Brentford 1, Fulham 1.
John might correct me on this, but I think that is the first time that Brian Mbeumo has missed a Premier League penalty in his entire career, and he was into double figures. So as John says, he doesn't miss many, and that is a big one for Brentford today, particularly considering 8th might still bring European football. Here come Forest up towards Wood on the edge of the penalty area. Little 1-2, he's got it back again, Chris Wood, and then on the stretch for it was Gibbs White, who went tumbling under a challenge from Wan-Bissaka, and it ends up in the arms of Areola. Forest 1-0 up.
Yeah, Wan-Bissaka does really well. He gets there, he gets a little bit late into the box, but he manages to get there in time and get the final touch, the header, back to his goalkeeper. Otherwise it could have easily been 2-0 to Nottingham Forest.
Here is Rodriguez for West Ham, who looked like Graham Potter's given them a few words to fire them up at half-time, because they've begun with some purpose and some clarity about what they want to do, Mark Schwarzer, in this second half.
Yeah, they've certainly started better the way than they finished the first half. They're still obviously, you know, they're chasing the game a little bit. They want to make sure they give it a real go this last game of the season at home for them.
Straight to Leicester Ipswich. It couldn't be him, could it, Pat Murphy?
Jamie Vardy's done it. His 200th goal for Leicester. Half-hit shot across the keeper, crept in at the far post. Who cares? 13 years to the day that he signed for Leicester City. Jamie Vardy's got his 200th goal for the club, and it's Leicester 1, Ipswich 0, and surprisingly enough, he's encouraging the crowd and he's milking it for all he's worth.
I bet he is, and he'll be thinking about 201 and 202 from here, I imagine. That is the story they all came to see today at the King Power, and we will react further to that later today on 5 Live. So, scoreline here, West Ham 0, Forest 1. We're 5 minutes into the second half. I haven't given you the Forest team yet in this second half. So Sells in goal, Aina Milenkovic, Murillo still, and Williams, and then Sangare and Anderson, Elanga, Gibbs White the goal scorer, Dominguez and Chris Wood. And as it stands, Forest are going level on points with Manchester City, on to 65, but they will not be going above them because of goal difference. But what this does do, of course, is going, regardless, will take potential Champions League football for Nottingham Forest to the final day, Mark.
And I think that's what they want to do. I mean, they want to be in the mix still, you know, not necessarily in their own hands, but at least give themselves the best possible chance. And if other results go their way, they can end up in Champions League football, which would be remarkable.
West Ham throw deep inside their own half, left-hand side. Wan-Bissaka's got the ball in his hand. The goals are flying in elsewhere in the last few minutes. Off we go to the Scottish Premiership game between St Johnstone and Dundee. Gavin Wallace?
Yeah, Chris, it's for Dundee. Lyle Cameron with his 8th goal of the season. Ball goes out to that right-hand side. He cuts and gets himself into the box and puts it the far side of Ross Sinclair in goals. But this will mean that Dundee are safe. St Johnstone 0, Dundee 1.
Yeah, massive goal for Dundee. We'll keep you updated with the story as that develops as well. It's a yellow card for Murillo, the Nottingham Forest centre-back there. Or was it
Elliot
actually
Anderson?
Elliot Anderson? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, sorry, Mark, you are correct. A foul on Mohamed Kudus, who kept Anderson really well away from him until Anderson then realised he wasn't going to get the ball, so chopped him down.
Yeah, no, it was a really good play from Kudus there. Almost did get away from him, but in the end, Elliot Anderson realised he needed to bring him down, stop the flow, and there was no complaints whatsoever when he was shown the yellow card.
So the West Ham free kick is pretty much bang on halfway between the halfway line and the edge of Nottingham Forest penalty area, and very central as well, with James Ward-Prowse, of course, stood over it, though far too far out for him to contemplate having a go from here. In fact, he's walked away from the situation now, so instead it looks like it's going to be the left boot of Aaron Creswell instead. And West Ham have got 6 claret and blue shirts that are lined up on the edge of Forest penalty area, and Creswell has gone low instead, out to this far left-hand side for Kudus, who takes it on his left foot, sends the cross up to the far post. The clearance from Nico Williams, back into the box by Ward-Prowse with his head, and then Murillo does the same for Nottingham Forest to clear, and there's about 4 or 5 pieces of head tennis happening in a row here before Wan-Bissaka gets his boot on the ball, breezes away from Sangare, down the right-hand side, the cross from Ward-Prowse, headed away by Ola Aina, whose positioning was good, and it's out of play from Dominguez for a West Ham throw in the final few seconds of that FA Cup final between Chelsea and Manchester United. And Maz, we know the direction of travel there.
Yeah, and the final whistle has just gone, in fact, Chris, and Chelsea have won 3-0. A big embrace with Guru Wrighton for the Chelsea boss, Sonia Bonpasta, who's ended her first season in English football in some style with the domestic treble. Sandy Baltimore with 2 goals today, either side of a Katerina Macario header. They've done the clean sweep, Chelsea. They're the FA Cup champions once more, beating last season's winners Manchester United by 3-0.
Cheers, Maz. Well, they are going to be the ones to stop next season, aren't they, Chelsea? What a stunning campaign they have had. We're not back underway here yet because Nico Williams, the Forest defender, is down at the moment on the opposite side to us, so in that left back area that he occupies, and he's got a couple of members of Nottingham Forest medical staff treating him. He's got a bottle of energy drink in his hand as well, and he's got his manager Nuno scratching his head on the sidelines down here near us.
Yeah, I think it was just a follow through potentially from Soufal, unintentional, and he looks okay as he goes off, and it's just obviously a way and an opportunity for Forest just to slow things down a little bit. West Ham have had a little bit more extra energy in these opening minutes of this second half, and for Forest they can just slow the game down a little bit.
I don't know, by the way, if Evangelos Marinakis is here today, the Nottingham Forest owner. I haven't seen him. Have you spotted him anywhere, Mark?
No, I haven't, but I'm sure if he is here he'll make himself noticed.
He probably will, though if he was to try and get on the pitch at full time today, I think it would take him about 3 working days to get down there, because the director's box, much like our commentary position, is a long way back in the stand here at London Stadium. Here is Todibo for West Ham. I don't think he's going to be pulling that trick again after what's happened this week. Now Kilman back with Todibo again with the number 25 on the back of his shirt. High ball out to the left wing for Wan-Bissaka. Touch towards the feet of Kudus, who took a touch, and the ball was taken from behind him, and out it goes for a West Ham throw. It looks like there's going to be some West Ham changes shortly as well, perhaps 3 of them, so we'll keep an eye on that. As Wan-Bissaka on this left-hand side for West Ham gives it to Kudus. Kudus, high ball, edge of the penalty area, and then the effort up and over the bar from Souček. In fact, it was so foul, that would have been a story, wouldn't it? A looping effort which had Matt Sells in the Nottingham Forest goal a little unaware as to where that was going to end up. The roof of his net was the answer. Yeah,
it was a Kudus cross. It was quite high and long, and it fell to Soufal. Does a really great touch off his chest. He knows he needs to take it really quickly because Nico Williams is on the march towards him to try and close it down, and by doing so he's not able to allow the ball to drop down low enough, Soufal, and therefore gets underneath it too much and it flies over the crossbar, but not by a lot.
I say it would have been a story. That's because in his 179 West Ham appearances, Vladimir Soufal has never scored a West Ham goal. So goal kick, 1-0 Forest the scoreline here. Back we go to that game between St Johnstone and Dundee. Coming, Gavin.
Still 1-0 to Dundee, but the news from up the road at Ross County, up the A9, is Ross County are now 1-0 up just now. I think it's Ackle Wright plays the striker through. Ross, Ronan Hale actually lashes home his 16th of the season, so that puts the cat amongst the pigeons here, as both teams are doing exactly the same. It would mean though that Dundee are safe. It's still 1-0 to Dundee here in Perth.
Cheers, Gavin, thank you. A yellow card for Guido Rodriguez here for hauling down Morgan Gibbs-White, so a Forest free kick there. 1-0 up, 57 minutes played, and I don't know if Forest are going to get to take this free kick before the West Ham changes. And there's not going to be 3 West Ham changes, there's going to be 4 West Ham changes, all in one go here from Graham Potter. But Forest are going to take this free kick first, which is angled to the right side of the penalty area. Murillo has a swipe at it, up into the air it goes, and out comes Areola for an easy catch for the Frenchman. And then a very quick bowl out with a long arm up towards Jarrod Bowen. It hit Williams on the head, and then Williams went after Jarrod Bowen, slides in at his feet, did get a bit of the ball. It's going to be a West Ham throw, far right side.
Yeah, that was a good challenge, really. And there was no complaint for Jarrod Bowen as well. It's always very telling. There's a bit of like a high five, not a high five, but a low five with Nico Williams, a slap of the hands. It's almost a good challenge.
Right, here we go. 4 West Ham changes all at once, so I might need your help here with a little bit of admin. Nicholas Fulcrum is coming on, so he's replaced Thomas Socha. I can see down there Edson Alvarez, as well as Carlos Soler and Lucas Paquetá. So they are the 4 West Ham players coming on. Yeah, Cresswell's coming off now. We hear the standing ovation from the fans, West Ham fans. You see Ward-Prowse is coming off as well. And the final one is going to be, I think, is it Rodriguez? Yeah, Guido Rodriguez. So yeah, you're right. Rodriguez, Ward-Prowse, Cresswell. And they're the changes. Off we go to Imola for that Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Ben Edwards.
Max Verstappen has taken victory at Red Bull's 400th Grand Prix, and he's taken his 4th consecutive win at Imola. Remarkable performance, he delivered superbly. Lando Norris finished in 2nd place for McLaren, ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri. They had a little battle right at the end of the race, 2nd and 3rd, so Piastri, the man who had pole, missed out. And Lewis Hamilton, having started all the way down in 12th place, had a good result for Ferrari. He finished in 4th position.
Kudus' ball into the box for West Ham from the left is repelled by Forest, who now try and break with Gibbs-White, their goal scorer. The only goal of the game so far. Gibbs-White lifting it up to that left wing. Elanga's got there. How has he reached that? It looked like it was beyond him, and then he's been hauled over. It is going to be a Forest free kick. Left-hand side of West Ham's penalty area. The foul by Todibo. He had no right, Elanga, to reach that pass from Gibbs-White.
Yeah, just sheer pace, wasn't it? Determination, get on the ball. Does really, really well. Wins his team a free kick against a run of play, but just really good to keep control of that ball. In the end, it's just a bit of a lazy challenge in the end from Todibo to give away a free kick. He had support around him, didn't need to, but well played from Elanga.
Yep, the Swede winning the free kick, born in Malmo, Anthony Elanga, which is where, rather quirkily, Nottingham Forest went in round 1 of their last European campaign, 1995, in the UEFA Cup, when they got to the quarter-finals and exited to Bayern Munich under Frank Clark. And he's the one who's going to take this free kick here, Elanga. Left side of West Ham's penalty area. 1-0 they lead, and we're about to tick up to the hour in the capital this afternoon here on 5 Live and on BBC Sounds. Arsenal against Newcastle to come from 4:30. No Alexander Isak in the Newcastle squad today. That's the breaking team news from the Emirates Stadium, as brought to you by John Murray earlier. Here comes the Forest free kick, in by Elanga, and the touch takes it in. It's 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. Elanga whizzed it in for another assist, and one touch amongst a flurry of bodies was enough to send it past Alphonse Areola. And Nottingham Forest, it seems, are going to take this Champions League quest to the final day, because they're 2-0 up now. It may well have been Milenkovic who got the crucial touch.
Yeah, I think it's Milenkovic in the end. It gets on the end of it, but what a ball. Elanga's delivery is exceptional. It's so difficult to defend against, and it's a faintest of touches, and it's all about that delivery, the pace. Whizzes into that far post, gives the goalkeeper no chance, and so difficult to defend against.
It is Nikola Milenkovic's touch. It is his 5th Premier League goal of the season. He's having an impact, a giant one for Nottingham Forest at both ends of the pitch this season. And having experienced some hurt, Milenkovic, against West Ham United, when he played in that 2023 Europa Conference League final for Fiorentina against the Hammers, he has payback, or does he? Because VAR, Mark Schwarzer, are looking at this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Possible offside they're checking for. I mean, the view we've got right now is difficult to see. I mean, the line we've got, yeah, it could well be. Could well be, depending on the interference, could well be offside, this one.
Interesting. Semi-automated offside technology will be active right now. Is it Morgan Gibbs-White, or is it Milenkovic himself who is... it looks like it is Milenkovic. It looks like it could be his right leg that is furthest out ahead of everybody in terms of that line, and that puts him in an offside position, if so.
Yeah, it's hard to say from this angle who it is that's in the offside position. And if it isn't Milenkovic and it is Morgan Gibbs-White, how much interference is he actually having?
It might be Dominguez. But like you say, interference then comes into this.
It does, yeah, because it's in the area where the ball is delivered to. This is going to be a really tricky one.
There were so many players on the edge of that 6-yard box as that cross comes in from Anthony Elanga. As it stands, the scoreline is West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 2. So that will be, if this goal does get cleared by today's VAR, which is Darren England, Anthony Elanga's 11th Premier League assist of the season. But they are taking a very, very long look at the footage here, as are quite a number of fans inside this ground on their phones simultaneously, Mark, as well. I can see a few of them around me having a look at it.
Yeah, that's so tight, isn't it? I mean, it's really difficult to see from our angle, and the footage that we're seeing, it's about really the delivery, where the ball ends up, how much interference is Alvarez making, if it is him in fact, and there's still some discussions going on.
My gut feeling is that it is Dominguez who is in an offside position, but it is whether it's deemed that he is interfering with play here. And actually, is Sam Barrett being sent to the screen here?
No,
by Darren
he's
England?
gone to the 4th official, and it called both managers over as well.
What is going on here?
There is an explanation going on, and most of the conversation at the moment is directed in Graham Potter's direction. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, he is using his hands, Sam Barrett, to explain to Graham Potter and Nuno Espirito Santo about the situation. But I don't know what he's telling them. He wasn't telling them off for something that had happened. It's almost as if he's saying, maybe we've got a problem here with the technology.
It could well be, yeah, because it's still ongoing, isn't it? So that may be the case. There may be an issue with a semi-automated system.
Well, given what happened yesterday in the FA Cup final, and this ongoing debate around VAR at the moment, they just don't need this. I feel another long-winded, eloquent statement forthcoming later today, perhaps, from the PGMOL.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, you're trying to get the right decisions. Yes, technology's there. They're trying to improve it. They're trying to make it quicker with the decision-making, and sometimes it doesn't go to plan, and at the moment it just seems to happen a few times too often.
This has been going on 5 minutes now already, and Sam Barrett, I mean, you have to feel sorry for the referee, because he's in the centre circle having to front everything up here, and he's got a few players around him asking questions, but obviously he's not seen any of the footage. He's only seen it real time, and the goal got given. It's the VAR that are having to work their way through various freeze frames and different angles and different perceptions of who was interfering and doing what inside that penalty area. I mean, have we got semi-automated offside technology active today? Is that the issue?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're not really sure. They're still checking, and we're seeing footage from VAR headquarters. I think they're still trying to analyse whether or not it is offside. It must mean that the semi-automated system is not actually in operation right now.
Right, some sort of instruction is being given to Sam Barrett here, but we've had almost 6 minutes of delay here waiting to find out whether this second Nottingham Forest goal is going to count from Nikola Milenkovic, which frankly is far too long, regardless of what the situation is. He's got his fingers up to his ear here, Sam Barrett. He's trying to listen to what's being said amongst a chorus of boos, which is coming from both the West Ham fans and the Nottingham Forest supporters inside this stadium. And the goal, after all of that has been given, and the Forest fans celebrate all over again. Well, I don't know what the long delay there was, but we've got confirmation now. West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 2. And while that was happening, something else was happening at Brentford-Fulham. John Southall.
And Brentford have the lead. Brentford 2, Fulham 1. It came from a long throw, flicked on Norgard at the back post, played it back across goal, and right on the goal line was Johan Wissa just to nudge it in. His 19th goal of the season as well. Brentford 2, Fulham 1.
Having an absolutely extraordinary campaign, aren't they, those Brentford forwards? Well, we can't get to the bottom of it at the moment because we don't have access to what was being said by VAR in our ears. So maybe we'll see some sort of statement on social media shortly, Mark. We'll try and clear up what's happened there.
I mean, we saw that Milenkovic was definitely not offside. So he wasn't offside. It was Rodriguez who was potentially offside, and it didn't look like he had any interference with the ball into the box. So therefore, it comes off the attacker's back and into the back of the net. So the referee's obviously given it, or the VAR's given it.
West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 2 is the scoreline. Long way back for Graham Potter's team from here, who are heading for yet another home defeat. That would be 9 in the Premier League this season. Half-time at the King Power between Leicester and Ipswich. Pat Murphy.
It's 1-0 to Leicester City, and Jamie Vardy, the scorer, his 200th goal for Leicester City. Great work by Justin. Surging run from the halfway line. Later on to Vardy. Right foot diagonal across the keeper. Low to his right. Typical Vardy poacher's goal. Hutchinson has wasted 2 chances at the other end for Ipswich, but it's Leicester City 1, Ipswich 0. Jamie Vardy, the story.
Gibbs White sending it into the box. Behind it goes off one of the West Ham changes, Edson Alvarez, and it is going to be a Nottingham Forest corner. And those Forest supporters who are right now applauding Anthony Elanga as he comes to get the ball, and it's being reciprocated back towards them from the Nottingham Forest dynamic winger. He's the one who's taking this corner from the right hand side. They are feeling like this is going to be a good afternoon for them in the capital, Mark.
Yeah, again, Elanga's on the ball. Great delivery for their second goal. Gets another good delivery in the box. It's going to be very difficult to defend against.
So Elanga with Forest leading 2-0. Outswinger off the head of Dominguez. Bounces out to the far left-hand side, the opposite side of the box, where Elliot Anderson reaches it just before Todibo for Forest. Gives it to Gibbs White. Back to Anderson. Then worked infield for Nico Williams. He's 30 yards from goal, Nico Williams. Short for Sangare. And on that far left-hand side, Williams is involved again, as is Anderson, and back it goes to Milinkovic, and those 2 Forest centre-halves who were forward for the corner have now retreated into their more natural position, and that's where they're building up again here, Forest, with Murillo, the Brazilian, lifted out to that left-hand side. A low ball in, which almost came to Chris Wood. It was intercepted just in front of him by the West Ham defender, Max Kilman. So West Ham 0, Forest 2.
Yeah, it's one of those games now, it feels like it's in a moment where it could run away from West Ham. Forest are really up on their toes, on the front foot. They're not allowing West Ham any time on the ball whatsoever, and they've been good for the 2-0 lead at the moment, and they're just applying more and more pressure to West Ham.
Half-time between Brentford and Fulham, John Southall.
A really good half here, Chris. Brentford 2, Fulham 1. Traore with the cross for the opening goal for Jimenez with the header. Flecken will be disappointed. He didn't keep it out. Then the equaliser, Wissa to Mbumo. That normally means one thing, and it did. The Mbumo goal finished into the left-hand corner. Leno then saved Mbumo's penalty. Really good stop. But as you also said, Chris, first ever time that he has missed a penalty. Then 2 minutes before half-time, Wissa nudged in on the goal line. Mbumo and Wissa, 19 goals. Brentford 2, Fulham 1.
And just as Soler releases a shot from the edge of the box, which is pushed away by the Forest keeper Matt Sells, behind for a West Ham corner, 20 minutes to go, plus a rather sizable chunk of stoppage time. They're just showing a bit of fight now, Mark.
Yeah, good opportunity for Soler. He does well initially, holds back his shot, puts it back on his right-hand side, and then goes for the curled spot back into the near post area, and Sells was just up for it.
Soler on the corner, headed clear by Murillo, who was limping as he landed there, the Forest defender, who, remember, left the pitch hobbling and eventually on a motorised cart at the end of that first half, but he's on the pitch at the start of the second period.
I'm not buying it. I'm not believing it. Let's wait and see. He's still playing. He's all right.
I don't know what to believe after watching him have to take transportation back to the tunnel at half-time. Here's Sofao, left by him, collected by Bowen on the byline, and behind it goes, off Murillo, who stands tall. West Ham have another corner here in a couple of minutes where they're showing some resurgence, but they're trailing Nottingham Forest by 2-0 here on 5 Live on this Premier League Sunday, with Arsenal against Newcastle to come from 4:30 as well. Corner to be taken by Soler. Fulkrug is in there, he jumped. Forest players in front of him, so Kudus then takes aim from about 25 yards out, if not a smidge more. That's repelled as well, and then a couple of headers clear from Dominguez for Forest, and Alanga on the halfway line. Can't keep it in. West Ham throw, far right-hand side.
Yeah, Milinkovic and Murillo's got to be on their game in these latter stages of this game. Fulkrug up front, he is a real difficult player to play against. Certainly when those deliveries come in the box, they're going to have to be really on him.
Bowen making tracks into the box for West Ham, looking for Fulkrug, and Forest got Murillo and Milenkovic over in front of the German, and it goes behind for another West Ham corner. It's not the first time, Mark, in recent weeks when Nicholas Fulkrug has come off the bench and has had an impact for West Ham in terms of giving them a focal point.
Yeah, it's a good ball in that near post area. It definitely comes off Milenkovic.
Short corner given to Kudus. He's overhit that way over the top of the crossbar. He was trying to cross that to the far post, Mohamed Kudus, but he didn't get his angles right, and Forest have a chance to breathe again as we move into the final 17 minutes of this game in East London. A year ago tomorrow, survival for Nottingham Forest with those 2 Chris Wood goals at Burnley. 2 years ago Tuesday, since they beat Arsenal, you might remember, in that very famous game at the City Ground, which made sure Nottingham Forest stayed in their first campaign back in the Premier League, but how they have progressed and grown since then.
That's been remarkable, the way that they've transitioned from being that side that obviously, like you said, just survived in the Premier League last season to being a team that's well in contention for a European place, and also we're talking about Champions League spots, because with this performance today, with the lead, if they see this out, pick up 3 points, they are still very much in the mix.
They are. It is just not in Nottingham Forest's hands, even if they beat Chelsea next week in that final Premier League game of the season. That is going to be an absolute belter at the City Ground if Forest do see this through and win. They're leading by 2-0 here, and they've got a throw on the halfway line.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. We want to see those last game of the season. It's almost like little mini finals happening, and so much to play for. As it stands, Forest.
Sangare slipping it through. Gibbs White looking across the box. Alanga meets it, and he hits it straight at Areola. And he was a little fortunate just to get there in the first place, because Sofal had slipped right in front of him.
Yeah, Sofal slipped, and I think because he slipped like last second, it caught Alanga out a little bit, and he tries to take a touch, and it's just eludes him and just goes straight to the goalkeeper.
On that assist for Anthony Alanga, by the way, 11 now in this Premier League season. That takes him level with a Forest Premier League record for most assists in a season, which was set many, many years ago by Brian Roy, one of those great names of that particular Forest team. As the ball is cleared away, not great from Forest, straight to Soler, tries to get it back off Fulkrug, intercepted, and Forest get away with it, and Alanga has it on the left wing.
Yeah, hits it with real pace into Fulkrug. Fulkrug can't do much with it. He's in the 6-yard box, back to goal. I think it's Milenkovic is right on him, Murillo's next to him. He's got no space to move, where he tries to lay it off for Soler, and Soler just can't get on the end of it.
And Alanga has been pulled over here by Lucas Paquetá, who has been booked for that. So a yellow card for the Brazilian.
Yeah, Alanga's been excellent for Nottingham Forest. Every time there's an out, they look for an out, it's Alanga. He's got such pace, determination, great ball control, delivery we saw with the second goal. And again, wins his team a free kick, gives his teammates an opportunity to slow the pace of the game down, get players forward and whip that ball into the box.
So Forest free kick, 3 yards in from the touchline, far left-hand side. They're going from left to right, leading by 2-0. High into the box looking for Milenkovic, who won the first aerial battle. Then Dominguez swings at it. Nicholas Dominguez with his left boot. And it ricochets out of play for a Forest throw just inside West Ham's half on this near right-hand side. 14 minutes to go of the 90 plus stoppage time. 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. As Aina's throw goes in towards Chris Wood and then intercepted by Aaron Wan-Bissaka to get it back for West Ham. Nice couple of touches by Paquetá. Then tried to spin away from a second player and had the ball taken away from him. And that's a nice touch by Gibbs-White for Forest, in for Ola Aina. Low ball into the box, clearance from Todibo. Out towards this near side, another Forest throw.
Yeah, it was the right idea from Aina there. He looks to try and whip that ball into the 10-yard box. But instead, unfortunately for him, Chris Wood at that moment looks to go long. Aina's ball's quite low, it's easy intercepted. You can see there's acknowledgement from Wood that he got that one wrong.
I apologise, Gavin Wallace, because we have kept you waiting far longer than we should have done. Half-time in that game between St Johnstone and Dundee.
No, don't be daft, I'm enjoying the commentary. St Johnstone 0, Dundee 1. Full-bodied, lively affair, but Lyle Cameron's goal on 29 means that Dundee have got 1 foot in Scottish Premiership football for next season. However, Ross County are 1 up at half-time at home to Motherwell, thanks to Ronan Hale's 16th goal of the season, which will make the second 45 really edgy. Half-time here, though, St Johnstone 0, Dundee 1.
Thanks, Gavin, and all the scores obviously available as always on the BBC Sport website. Congratulations, by the way, to Boreham Wood, who won promotion earlier today from the National League South in their playoff game against Maidstone. Lots of focus on the National League South in recent weeks because of that amazing title race you may have seen involving a number of clubs in those closing weeks of the season. And Scunthorpe against Chester at 4 o'clock today in the National League North playoff final, which I'm sure will be extremely well attended as well. So good luck to those two teams as well. We are in the 79th minute with West Ham in possession, but 2-0 down at home to Forest here. Gibbs-White in the first half, Milenkovic in the second, as Wan-Bissaka curls across for West Ham up to the far post. The clearance as far as Fulkrug, taken down by Paquetá, whose shot was blocked by Sangare, who just launched himself chest first in the way of Lucas Paquetá to intercept it. And then a free kick given away by Edson Alvarez, the West Ham midfielder. So Forest have a chance to recalibrate here.
Yeah, they do. Each time they're going to be happy with that. Every time they get an opportunity to slow the pace down, try and break the rhythm. It's a decent ball in the box there from Wan-Bissaka. It's always difficult to deal with that curl, depth. Ball drops to Paquetá. As he gets that shot away, Forest have just got so many players in that box there. They're throwing their body on the line and they're making the crucial blocks and defending really well.
West Ham have just made the last of their available changes. 19-year-old Lewis Guilherme on for his 12th Premier League appearance, so Mohamed Kudus has made way. But really, Mark Schwarzer, you feel unless West Ham can find a goal in the next 5 minutes or so, there's even a possibility that Forest might go and get another one and totally put this game to bed.
Yeah, if West Ham are going to score, it's almost like against the run of play at the moment, because Forest have been the more confident of the two. They've been mostly in possession. They've found themselves in the opposition half, in West Ham's half for large parts of this second half, and they look at this moment in time the most likely to score next.
Brentford leading Fulham, Leicester leading Ipswich. Jamie Vardy with a goal, 200 Leicester goals with the one that he has scored today. So we'll keep you updated with that this afternoon on 5 Live, and Arsenal against Newcastle, full live commentary to come from 4:30 with Murray Squared on commentary today. John and Glenn will be at the Emirates Stadium. John, of course, was at Wembley himself yesterday for that spine-tingling coverage of the FA Cup final between Crystal Palace and Manchester City, which you can listen to in full again if you wish to do so on the BBC Sounds app. Here is Guilherme, a little 1-2 with Soler. Oh, he's dancing around challenges here. That's brilliant from Guilherme. On to Fulkrug. There's Soler. There's Guilherme. Oh, it would have been a brilliant goal. It's a tremendous block by Nico Williams for Forest at the end of it all.
Absolutely brilliant, because there was a lot of players ball watching at that stage there, but Nico Williams, he was ready. Last ditch, the diving block was brilliant.
Yeah, no wonder the camera is immediately focusing in on Forest fullback, because that was some tremendous defending. Would have been a brilliant West Ham goal had there been an end product. Here is Carlos Soler trying to get it back again off Paquetá, who's ended up on the ground on the edge of the box, but no free kick given. But the endeavours of Nicholas Füllkrug win the ball back for West Ham United. They're making a go of this, even at 2-0 down in the final 8 minutes, Mark Schwarzer.
Well, that's what you'd hope for, at the very least. West Ham, their supporters will be hoping that they really just give it a go. Throw caution to the wind, nothing to lose. Try and put pressure on Nottingham Forest, try and get themselves back in this game.
That was Bowen trying to test Nico Williams. Williams won the ball, and then Bowen has gone flying into Nico Williams. He's taken him out. He's put the West Ham claret and blue corner flag on the ground as well. Did he get a bit of the ball, Bowen? I don't think he did he?
We'll see now on the replay. Nico Williams does well, keeps the ball in.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he does, yeah. No, there's nothing in that at all. I mean, it is a foul, no doubt about it. But there's nothing, malice in that challenge. There's no studs, there's no boot. It's actually, he needs the ball out as he slides across the turf on his knees.
Right, we saw 4 West Ham changes all at once earlier. We're going to see 3 here from Nottingham Forest. So Morato is coming on. I thought we were going to see him at half-time, by the way, but it's not the number 5 that's gone up on the board. It's actually number 6, so it's Sangare is coming off for Morato. So we see this quite a lot, don't we, from Nuno Espirito Santo, bringing on Morato to make it into a 3-man defence. Morgan Gibbs-White is also departing, but once again as a Nottingham Forest goal scorer for the 7th time this season. He removes the captain's armband and places it onto the bicep of Chris Woods, and also Elliot Anderson is coming off for Danilo. So Hudson-Odoi, Danilo and Morato are the 3 players entering the pitch for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, it's just for Nottingham Forest, it's about trying to get some fresh legs on that pitch there. They've defended really, really well. Give it a bit of extra security now with another centre-back in that position. Make it a little bit more difficult, because West Ham have just come into the game a little bit more in this last 5 minutes, and obviously Nuno has decided that he wants to try and break it up a little bit and make them a little bit more solid through the middle.
Morgan Gibbs-White turns and applauds the Nottingham Forest fans over to his left-hand side with his hands high above his head as his name is chanted by the Forest fans. And this Forest team, who even prior to today have scored more Premier League away goals than they have at the City Ground this season, are 2-0 up against West Ham United and making sure that game next week on their own patch at the City Ground against Chelsea will mean everything. Here is Wan-Bissaka for West Ham, though, intercepted by Danilo. He's just on the pitch. Can't really miss him, can you, with that bright blonde hair? He won the ball, and now Elanga running forward with the ball at his feet for Forest down the right wing. West Ham have got bodies back behind the ball, so he goes back almost to the halfway line to Danilo again there, Elanga.
Yeah, it's just a bit of experience as well onto the pitch with Danilo coming in that sort of midfield area, and it's an opportunity now for Nottingham Forest. They'll look to try and hit West Ham on their counter, as West Ham trying to push players forward. They're trying to get themselves back in this game, whereas Forest will be happy just to try and slow the pace down, control the tempo of the game, and that's what they're doing right now.
This is Dominguez and Hudson-Odoi just on the pitch, lets the ball run underneath his right boot. A little wry smile on the face of the former Chelsea player there, Callum Hudson-Odoi. So West Ham take the throw quickly. They've moved the ball into a central area. They're 2-0 down at home to Forest here, but Guilherme releasing Wan-Bissaka down the left wing. Guilherme wants the ball again here, and over comes Milenkovic, who is quite the frame to try and navigate your way past if you don't have the ball, or even if you do.
Yeah, they've got a very solid backline, haven't they? Milenkovic has been really difficult to deal with him. He's obviously a massive threat going forward, as we've seen with the scoring the second goal, but defensively they've been rock solid.
Alvarez for West Ham. Soler 5 yards outside the box, into the box. Bowen goes round a couple, shoots left-footed, intercepted, and that's been the story really of Forest's second half in particular. Even when West Ham have got into good positions, there's always been somebody in sky blue in the way.
Yeah, and they haven't dived in, they've just kept their ground, they've defended really well. There's no panic.
Here's Bowen again! Oh, what a finish! Jarrod Bowen with his left foot smashes it past Matt Sales into the top right-hand corner, and with 4 minutes to go, West Ham have got a bit of life, and they're going to make Nottingham Forest a bit nervy here. West Ham 1, Forest 2.
They needed something special to break the backs of Nottingham Forest, because they were defending so well. Jared Bowen, what a strike that is. He kind of flicks it up with the outside of his left foot as it sort of almost goes behind him, and he pops it up in the air. As it pops up, he just hits it on the volley, smashes it home. And it's not quite in the top corner, but its pace and the angle of it just makes it so difficult for the goalkeeper to make a save. Brilliant strike.
12 Premier League goals this season for Jared Bowen. He's now scored 5 in his last 7, 4 in a row at home. And the little touch, Mark, it came off Morato's head, so he had to readjust his boot. Like you say, took the touch with the outside of the boot, and then the finish was lethal.
He just sort of flicked his left foot up at an angle, and sort of the outside of it, it just pops up nicely for him, and then he just hits it so quickly. And the pace is what beats Sells in the goal. There's a player in front, and it just rifles past him and the goalkeeper.
So there's not going to be a 14th clean sheet of Matt Sells' Premier League season. That Golden Glove Awards, he's one ahead of David Raya, the Arsenal goalkeeper. And they're playing Newcastle later today. It's on 5 Live from 4:30. But this is going to be a really interesting final few minutes now, because West Ham, since they've made those changes, have livened up.
They have, and there's also not just normal time that's playing at the moment, there's also will be some injury time you would expect in this half. So yeah, there's still a bit of football to be played for West Ham and Nottingham Forest to hold on to this lead. Yeah,
because of that delay for the confirming of Forest's second goal. I mean, that's 6 minutes. I made that 6 minutes alone, let alone anything else that's going on, as the ball is out of play on the far right side to us for a West Ham throw. And those inside London Stadium, from a home persuasion, if they were thinking about going early, they're not now. Paquetá lifting it into the box. Clearance from Murillo. Back in the feet of Paquetá again. Here's Fulkrug. Fulkrug tried to squeeze it through the gap for Paquetá. Murillo runs it out of defence, ran into a bit of trouble, but Dominguez gets on the pieces, and Hudson-Odoi picks it up for Forest. He's tripped, and Nottingham Forest have a free kick, leading 2-1, 2 minutes to play plus stoppage time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of frustration on the sideline from Nuno Espirito Santo. You can see him there, but I mean, I think Nottingham Forest have done well. Still, even now, they're under a lot of pressure, of course. West Ham have their tails up. They're looking to put pressure on them, but Forest just haven't panicked. And they've, again, this time Hudson-Odoi's the one that wins the free kick, keeps hold of the ball. The worst thing they can do is start just trying to launch the ball forward, trying to kick it anywhere. They've done it all game where they've actually been really controlled, and then they've been able to control the pace of the game. They need to do that and finish the game in the same way.
That Jared Bowen goal is well worth watching tonight on Match of the Day 2, which is on at 10:30 on BBC One. Martin Keown and Danny Murphy will be with Mark Chapman for that. Murillo's hobbling around a bit again here, the Nottingham Forest defender. I don't read anything into it.
No, not buying it.
Factually.
Still not buying it.
It's been the front and centre today, the Brazilian in Nottingham Forest defence. West Ham throw, trailing by 2-1, but they got their tails up here. Soler hooking it out towards the left wing for Wan-Bissaka, who's just inside his own half. He would have enjoyed, I'm sure, Crystal Palace's FA Cup win yesterday, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's where he began his career, of course, in that particular part of South London. Paquetá chipping one into the right channel. So far, he's going to have to do a lot to reach it. He has. He's got it to Bowen, and Bowen hit that really well too with his left foot. It's repelled off a Forest man, and then Hudson-Odoi's been caught late. Though there are quite a few West Ham players who feel that Hudson-Odoi's made a meal of that. It's a yellow card for Todibo, who made the challenge, but there were lots of West Ham players there, Mark Schwarzer, up in the face of Sam Barrett.
Yeah, not quite happy with the decision. It's difficult to see from where we're sitting, because it's happening right on the opposite side of the pitch. But the referee was very quick to blow his whistle. He's got the linesman right in front of the incident as well. And Morato is the one that took the full brunt of that Jared Bowen attempt on the volley, and he had to. It was a great strike, it really was. I don't know whether it was on target, just seeing the replay again.
I said we had 6 minutes of at least 6 minutes because of that wait for the confirmation of Nikola Milenkovic's goal. And on top of that, another 5 have been added. We're going to have 11 minutes of stoppage time at London Stadium. You might have noted that from the Raw.
Yes, no, there's still a lot to play for West Ham and Nottingham Forest. And the way this game's going, West Ham obviously are up. They've got their tails up. They are trying to get back in this game, and they are putting a lot of pressure on Nottingham Forest.
Just getting a bit of confirmation, actually, from those at Stockley Park, the HQ, as to what went on with Nikola Milenkovic's goal. Got a bit of information which I'll bring you on in just a moment, because it'd be good to try and clear that up, or at least clear it up as much as we can. As Guilherme for West Ham into the box, Milenkovic with the challenge, good one, won the ball, and it ricochets into the arms of Matt Sells.
Yeah, Guilherme's been a real threat since he's come on. He's been so dangerous. He's had some really good runs on that occasion. Just can't get control of the ball. Really good ball in behind, but not quite get on the end of it.
So the referee's call of goal was checked and confirmed by VAR. Milenkovic in an onside position, Dominguez was in an offside position, but deemed not to be impacting in play, as Todibo misses the ball inside his own penalty area, the West Ham defender. Chris Wood almost had a chance to get onto it, but Todibo recovered well to get it back, and West Ham have the ball, but they're deep inside their own half in their right back area at the moment, and Paquetá neatly playing his way out. Just to complete that, the semi-automated offside technology was not available to the VAR in this incident. There were also issues with the VAR communications to the on-field officials, so we wondered whether technology was a bit of a problem for the officials, and indeed that is the case.
Yeah, I mean, the referee's just losing a little bit of control here of this game. West Ham players and the fans are not happy. I mean, he has let quite a lot go, and then there's a sense of frustration each time from West Ham players, and then they're going on and committing a foul, and the referee's then pulling them up on them, and there's an extreme amount of frustration coming out of it.
I was at Portman Road last week for that Ipswich-Brentford game. You might remember there was a long delay with all sorts of incidents going on inside the penalty area before Brentford scored their goal. Sam Barrett was the referee last week there as well, so he's had a couple of tricky occasions, the man who's got the whistle today. We'll be going to Brentford-Fulham very shortly. We've played 3 minutes of stoppage time, but remember there's going to be 11. Forest have got a free kick, so off we go then to West London. Brentford-Fulham, John.
Where Brentford lead Fulham by 2-2. Delayed start we had to this second half because of a drone overhead, but we are underway, and Fulham have a free kick just to the right of the D. Good chance this. Brentford 2, Fulham 1.
And also early stages of the second half between Leicester and Ipswich. Pat Murphy.
It's still Vardy 1, Ipswich 0. He hasn't touched the ball in this first 10 minutes. Game's opening out now. Ipswich haven't kept a clean sheet all year. 18 league games. Jack Clark is becoming more and more prominent though. Leicester 1, Ipswich 0.
Cheers, Pat. Forest are about to make a couple of changes. Jota Silva and Ryan Yates are waiting to come on. Don't know whether it's going to happen before this Forest free kick though, because it doesn't look like that change is going to happen just yet. So Alanga's over the ball. So is Murillo by the looks of it from here. It's 10 yards outside the box. It's short actually from Murillo to Alanga. So Alanga instead is going to have a run into the penalty area. He's found the pass, the pullback looking for Wood, and it's behind for a Nottingham Forest corner. So quickly we'll go to St Johnstone Dundee. Gavin Wallace.
Just as St Johnstone is there, score! Scott Tiffany, Dundee. Scott Tiffany for the away side, ensuring if it stays like this they will stay up. He's wet. Oh, hang on. It might be offside. Sorry, you can come back if you want. I think it might be offside.
No, you're good, Gavin. We've got a couple of subs going on here.
The assistant referee. No, hang on. A bit of confusion. I'm not entirely sure, but Scott Tiffany was through on goal. He put it underneath the legs of the goalkeeper. It was a really well worked goal. There's just a bit of chat between referee Stephen McLean, goalkeeper Ross Sinclair, and Simon Murray, as a VAR check will now happen. So we could be, hopefully not as long as you guys earlier on, but there's definitely no semi-automation in Scotland. There's just nothing in Scotland yet. Anyway, that's not fair. It could be a minute or two till we find out. Simon Murray's now walking away, the Dundee forward. He's shouting towards his team. Referee Stephen McLean stood next to the goalkeeper right now, and the goal is offside. It remains 1-0.
Cheers, Gavin. Thanks very much. The confusion is spreading from the south of the border to the north, it seems, this afternoon in terms of officiating. Forest have got a corner here. They've made those changes. Jota Silva and Ryan Yates have come on while Gavin was walking us through the action at McDermott Park, and now Sam Barrett, the referee, is marching over towards this touchline on the near side. He's got the yellow card in his right hand, and he is booking a member of Nottingham Forest staff. I don't know if that's the manager Nuno Espirito Santo or or somebody else perhaps, but a yellow card has been given to, I think, a member of Nuno's coaching staff.
Yeah, I think it's a member of his coaching staff who's back at the benches, whereas Nuno's right up next to the pitch. There's a couple of cars branded, actually, one towards a West Ham staff member as well.
Right, finally the Forest corner, in it comes, claimed by Areola on the edge of his 6-yard box and quickly getting it upfield. Fulkrug, wasteful really with his touch. It was with the outside of his heel. He was trying to get it to Bowen. He gave it away, but West Ham have it back again, as so far from the right back position, nods it forward for Paquetá, who runs with purpose, looks to feed it through to Bowen, who was off and underway on one of those trademark runs, Jarrod Bowen, but it was intercepted, and we've had 7 of the minimum 11 minutes of stoppage time here, but we're going to go beyond the 11, I'll tell you that much, Mark Schwarzer.
Yeah, I would have thought so as well. I mean, it's high-paced, end-to-end stuff, and of course, every decision, certainly that goes against West Ham, has been hotly contested by the fans in the stadium.
West Ham 1, Nottingham Forest 2. Hopefully we're done in time for 4:30 on the start of Arsenal-Newcastle at the Emirates Stadium. If you are just joining us, Alexander Isak is not in that Newcastle squad today for that high-stakes game in North London. But in the East at the moment, West Ham are trying to find an equaliser which wouldn't mathematically end Nottingham Forest's hopes of Champions League football, but my goodness, it really would look pretty bleak for Forest if they were not to win this game, as Paquetá, good strength from him, pushing Danilo off the ball, gives it to Bowen into the box, and Nico Williams needed to time the challenge right, the Forest defender, he did, but then his clearance has gone straight back to Edson Alvarez, and West Ham can begin again. Paquetá, Bowen trying to turn it round the corner for Fulkrug. Paquetá once more, he's flopped down in front of the referee, no free kick given, and now Forest might be able to break. Chris Wood, far left-hand side, he's not in a hurry, is he? He's got Jota Silva in the box, but he's heading for the corner flag here.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do. Win the throw-in, take the sting out of the game, slow it right down. That's his experience. Take it off to the corner. Does well.
So that's 8 minutes of stoppage time played. West Ham 1, Nottingham Forest 2. Gibbs White scored early. Areola passed the ball to him, the West Ham keeper, just on the edge of the box, so he stroked it into an empty net. Milenkovic made it 2-0 with a header from an Elanga free kick. We waited 6 minutes for that to be confirmed as a goal, as they looked at a potential offside. But Jarrod Bowen's excellent finish with 4 minutes to go before the 90 has made this an interesting conclusion, as the ball is over on that far side by the corner flag. West Ham and Forest players all gathered round it, and eventually it's bounced out of playoffs. Nico Williams, and it's a West Ham goal kick, and we've just seen a shot, Mark Schwarzer, of Nuno Espirito Santo in the technical area, and he looks a little flustered, the Nottingham Forest manager. This is a big few minutes in their season.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I mean it's all getting a little bit heated as well on the pitch, as well as some of the staff members off the pitch. So yeah, there's a lot riding on this game, and understandably so, and that's just what's going to happen in football. We see it time and time again.
Forest against Chelsea next week, the final game of their Premier League season. At the moment, it is set up to be a mammoth game. Here's Bowen, a 1-2 with Paquetá, halfway inside Nottingham Forest half. Bowen again, now back to the feet of Paquetá, right hand side, Paquetá onto his left foot, in towards Fulkrug. Murillo there, the Forest defender in front of him. Good positioning from the Brazilian.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant positioning. Never took his eye off the ball, wasn't worried about Fulkrug because he knew he was in the right line, he'd win that header, and he did it.
Well, they've had a wretched time, West Ham, this season, and particularly here at London Stadium. But they're giving this a good go against 7th place Nottingham Forest, as Bowen runs after the ball down towards the byline. Williams gets there first for Forest. He lifts it up towards Wood on the halfway line, and Wood sets Jota Silva away. Wan-Bissaka's back there with him. He's now in the box. Jota Silva's shot blocked by Wan-Bissaka, and the ball spins up over the crossbar and behind for a Forest corner.
Yeah, brilliant play again. Chris Wood heavily involved in it. Jota, the ball to Jota was excellent, perfectly timed in behind Jota. Then it was a race, a sprint on with Wan-Bissaka. He knew he wasn't going to be quicker, but Wan-Bissaka does really well as well. He doesn't dive in. Jota waits, tries to fool him with a dummy, but Wan-Bissaka was alert to it and just gets the deflection over the crossbar.
We've just seen some shots on our screen of some Forest fans with their hands clasped, almost as if they're praying that these final couple of minutes pass without incident. There is quite literal nail biting going on in that away end as well. As it stands, Forest are going to take their Champions League hopes to the last day, but they've got a corner, they've taken it short here, Forest, and Chris Wood has not won another one I think there were a few Forest fans who felt that decision should have gone the other way, but Chris Wood didn't complain.
Yeah, he didn't say a word. I mean, it's clear that he's obviously touched the ball, but it gives West Ham possibly one last opportunity.
Yeah, because 11 minutes of stoppage time are about to be reached, but that is a minimum, remember, and we are going to have a little bit on top of that, one would imagine. West Ham 1, Forest 2 in West Ham's final home Premier League game of the season, as Aina gets the ball back for Forest in the right-back area. Danilo gave it away, but he was lucky it fell to a Forest player, and then Jota Silva goes chasing after it. Todibo comes over, puts his head in there. West Ham regain the ball and maybe have one last chance to attack, Mark Schwarzer.
Yeah, there's a bit of frustration because they're quite deep, West Ham. It doesn't look like there's urgency, but anyone making runs in behind.
Guilherme beaten to it by Milenkovic, who just went down at his feet to scoop a leg at it and clear the ball. Back it comes into West Ham position again, and Nuno is irritated, the Forest manager, that his team keep giving the ball away. Swept out to the right-hand side where Bowen collects it. Back in field for Alvarez. Alvarez lofts it into the box. Too high for those waiting inside the penalty area. Then Paquetá clipping it in. Too much for Fulkrug, but Nico Williams, unsure of his bearings, heads it behind for a West Ham corner.
Well, he had to. He doesn't know who's behind him. If anyone's behind him, there's obviously the communication's probably too late. He has to make a decision. If he lets that go and someone gets in behind him, then it's a big mistake.
Ariola's come forward, the West Ham goalkeeper here for this corner. They're 2-1 down. In it comes Fulkrug. Sells has stopped it with his fists. He put both his hands up above his head and he blocks it. Ariola's stayed in the box. Here's Sofao, dinking it up. Out comes Sells. He punches that one clear as well. And then Wan-Bissaka sending it back into the box. It's complete chaos in these final few seconds inside London Stadium. Forest still have the lead that they require. They've got the ball. They've pumped it upfield. Is Wood going to chase after it? He's not, because I think it's going to bounce out of play. Or is it? No, it's stayed in, but hang on. Sam Barrett's had to blow his whistle and stop play here because there's a couple of players that are pushing and shoving down there. Alvarez and Milenkovic with both of their arms out in front of them here, shoving each other. And others are now coming over from both a Nottingham Forest and a West Ham perspective to try and break this up. It's all got in a bit heated.
Yeah, I mean, Forest players just need to settle down. They've got so much to play for still. They don't need to get themselves booked, sent off. There's a massive game coming up. This game stays at 2-1. They've got such a big game coming up. They just need to get out of it. Stay away from it. Don't get involved.
We're in the 104th minute of this game. I joked about not being able to get to the Emirates for the start of Arsenal-Newcastle at 4:30. And the pushing and the shoving and the general discontent is still going on. There are little pockets of players that are coming together on that pitch, Nottingham Forest and West Ham players. And Nicholas Fulkrug is involved. Edson Alvarez, the West Ham midfielder, doesn't seem to want to let it go.
Yeah, Murillo was involved with the initial sort of starting of it as the clearance is coming together. And there was a bit of a coming together after the clearance. I'm not sure. I think it was Alvarez, I think it was. And that's where it all starts from. And there's a bit of toing and throwing, pushing and shoving. There didn't seem to be anything else. I don't think there'd be anything more than a yellow card.
Right, Sam Barrett's got a bit of sorting out to do here. Murillo has been booked, the Nottingham Forest defender. Who else is getting a yellow card here? I think Morato has been called over. Yep, he's been yellow carded as well. So that's 2 Forest players that have gone into the book. So he's dealt with the away side, Sam Barrett. Now he has to work out if there's anyone from a West Ham perspective that's worthy of getting their name taken.
They definitely will. Yeah, there's a couple of West Ham players I think will get yellow cards as well. There we go. Soler, I think, is one of them. He's got a yellow card now, yeah. The referee's called him over.
Yeah, Carlos Soler is trudging over in the direction of Sam Barrett. Yep, booking for him as well. And is that the end of it all? He had to take a bit of instruction from his assistants there, Sam Barrett, and probably the views of the 4th official, Matthew Donoghue, as well, from the sidelines too, just to get to the bottom of everything that went on there. And I think that's him done in terms of yellow cards for now.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where he's going. I mean, he's going up the other end of the pitch. That's where the ball was, and the play stopped, of course. That's why he's going there. We just saw the replay of Nicholas Fulkrug's attempt on goal. I mean, he heads it so well. The only sort of criticism is it's just too close to the goalkeeper. It's right above the goalkeeper, and therefore that gives Sells an opportunity to make the save.
Straight to the King Power, Leicester Ipswich, Pat.
Second goal for Leicester from Casey McAteer. Nice composed move involving several players. Edge of the box, right foot, perhaps palm of the Ipswich keeper went down too early. Doesn't matter. It's Leicester 2, Ipswich 0.
We've played 16 minutes of stoppage time here at London Stadium. 16 minutes, and we are still ongoing, and play has not yet restarted here, and it is going to begin with a drop ball of some sort, because Sam Barrett's got the white ball with the blue lines round it in his left hand. He's holding it out in front of him, and he's going to restart play here by giving the ball, I think, back to Nottingham Forest inside their own half, and I imagine Milenkovic is just going to absolutely clobber this upfield.
Well, I think he has to.
Yep, that's exactly what's happened. It's dropped at his feet, and there's the full-time whistle. And Nottingham Forest have done what they needed to do today. They are going to take their Champions League quest to the final day of the season, where it will all matter in that match against Chelsea in terms of finishing inside the top 5. Gibbs White and Milenkovic with the goals. Bowen made it interesting for West Ham, but Forest held on. Mark Schwarzer.
They did. I think overall they deserved it. I think they were the better side, certainly going forward. They created more. They looked more composed on the ball, and of course, obviously, so much to play for still, and they've given themselves a chance going into that last game of the season.
What a concluding chapter we're going to have at the City Ground on Sunday next week. We'll have it all covered on 5 Live and on BBC Sounds, but Forest here at London Stadium have beaten West Ham United by 2-1.